Hello and welcome to Week 5 of the European Challenger Series Round Robin. I'm Richard Pulse Cam, and with me on the caster desk is James. And we will be jumping into the games today. Now, we are going to go through just the standings and so forth before we get into this one, but we are going to talk about those playoffs.
We will, and with only one game left to play for each of the teams, the playoff seedings are still wide open for today's games.
Yes, they are, Stress. However, the first of the 3 games of Week 5 were played out yesterday, so let's take a look at what went down. In Game 1, Gamers 2 handed Dignitas their first loss. In the second game, Team Dinao eSports beat Mouse eSports, and Overclockers did manage to take down Ex Nihilo for the first win.
What that means, though, is today the teams will swap up their sides and also swap up the schedule on the Rift to duke it out once more. So, first game of the day is going to be Overclockers versus Ex Nihilo. Then, Mouse will take on Denial, and we'll round out the day with first place and second place Dignitas EU against Gamers 2 to decide that first place spot.
That's an important one, Stress, but the teams only have one last game to change their seedings, just like that last game, so let's see where they stand before we kick off today's games. In the top of the scoreboard, Team Dignitas EU now 8-1 after their first loss yesterday. Gamers 2 just trailing behind, they need that one win in the last game of today, and Dinao eSports and Mouse Sports are tied in the middle, and then out of contention is Ex Nihilo and OC.
So a really important thing is there is no opportunity for tiebreakers after today's game. So that last game, the last game of the day will decide who has the first spot. So that's all important, but if you didn't catch any of yesterday's games, make sure you head over to LOL Esports VOD Hub, where you can watch any of yesterday's games, or any games so far from the Summer Split Round Robin, or, quite frankly, anywhere around the world.
Fantastic. But wait, there's more. Over at the Articles tab, there's a new article named Vines and Felines, which details Zyra and Rengar's play during last week's games. So if you're interested in what makes them tick, make sure you check out that article during one of our breaks. So let's get the show on the road with Game 1 and the Pride match between the 1-8 Ex Nihilo and also the 1-8 Overclockers UK. First up, let's visit the lineups. On the blue team, it's Overclockers. In the top lane, it is Kubon, the Tabasco in the jungle, the Takefun in the mid lane with Selava and Libic in that bot lane AD carry and duo support. Now, there's been an improvement on Ex Nihilo, but is it enough? Just let's take a look at their lineup. Morsu in the top lane, Impaler in the jungle, Godzuki in the mid lane, Crazy Caps and Zaitan in that bottom lane. And this game doesn't mean anything in terms of the playoff race, as we've mentioned already, but it is a chance for the teams to prove if they've improved during the split and if they can maintain that. An
improvement really is the name of the game with regards to these two teams, and it's a very two-sided argument on this one. For Ex Nihilo, they brought in Morsu. We know he loves to split push, and we saw it against Team Dignitas, but they ran out of options for split pushing for Morsu later into the game, had to drag him in for team fights, and just kind of couldn't really close out the game. Another improvement that Ex Nihilo made in that game, though, was they went for towers instead of the dragons. That's the first time we've ever really seen Ex Nihilo make that improvement on a macro level. Their opponents for today, though, Overclockers last week, really didn't improve once again. The same kind of story. They just fell behind, couldn't really do anything on the map. And honestly, coming into this week, they looked very almost certain to be 0-10, but they did pick up a win yesterday.
They did. And actually, in the replay that we saw yesterday, Ex Nihilo pulled out this very interesting composition. It was a scaling comp with Ryze, Azir, and Vayne. But this is very different from what they usually pull out. And the question is, did it even fit their playstyle?
Well, I mean, they were aggressive very early on in this game. They traded 1 for 2 overall in this bottom side. But look at the scaling. Ryze, Azir, and Vayne.
But hang on, this is a late game composition, and they're doing what they do every single time with the same playstyle. This is the wrong composition, my friends.
It is. But one thing you need to keep your eyes on is down in this bottom lane still, Tabasco comes in for the counter gank. That's his first one, as there are more dives to come, as dives in the top lane this time for Ex Nihilo, looking for another kill. This time they're trying to dive a Mundo, and Tabasco arrives for his second counter gank in a row. He really just read Impaler like a book.
Yeah, he knows exactly where Impaler was going to be on that map. And Overclockers just had complete control over this game and the dragons in this one, as they easily clean up fight after fight after fight. This is actually the lead up to the second dragon of the game, and Overclockers just run down Ex Nihilo, who have already let themselves get behind because they just handed the kills on a silver platter.
Yeah, and after this, they managed to grab a third dragon for themselves as well. Very scrappy fights out from Ex Nihilo, but not only was it the dragons, a comfortable Baron for Overclockers at 30 minutes into the game. Impaler couldn't quite get the steal off on that one, and xNihilo give over 2 kills alongside it. Overclockers heavily in the lead.
Morsu there just died. He was like, if you're dying, I'm dying too. I'll go down with the ship. And he does that again as Living was like, okay, I guess I'll just headbutt you into my team. 0-7-1 at 33 minutes into the game.
Yeah, the decision-making was not what we saw from xNihilo last week with their games against Team Dignitas. Honestly, where was the team we saw against Team Dignitas? Not in this game, that's for certain. Picked a late game comp, tried to fight with it early, and just got crushed.
Yeah, it was bizarre, and we also want to look at some of these players as well. Specifically, in the top lane first, Morsu. He played Ryze. That's not a Morsu champion.
Nope.
That's not a Fiora. That's not a split pusher who can 1v1. That's a Ryze who's going to go 0-7. It was really strange, and it was a very early pick as well. It's just like, well, Ryze is open. I guess we'll pick it.
And I think the most surprising thing about that was he was up against Sebex, who came in as a substitute just for yesterday's game for Overclockers. Sebex went 1-0-10 on Mundo, who's not a pick we see all that much, apart from when it's against maybe a single target, single threat composition,
right,
or, you know, predominantly magic damage. This was against a late game scaling team, so we had a lot of freedom, and you can see 1-0-10 overall. Sebex having a great game for a stand-in.
And for the last player, it was Tabasco, who honestly we did not see a lot through the entire split until now. He turned up 6-1-5. We saw those counter ganks at the early game, did a whole lot for the team and just set them up for success.
Yeah, he really did, and a part of his strength in that game was the fact he was on Nidalee, who many people are considering to be one of the top junglers alongside Rek'Sai right now. Gragas is still in the mix as well, but that was the first time we've seen Tabasco take a meta pick and perform well on it. And I think it's a good building block for Overclockers, but unfortunately for both teams, it is still too late in the split to actually affect the playoff standings.
It's still an underperformance by both teams, definitely. And even with, well, Old Reason Gaming, now Overclockers, they usually end at least like mid in the table. I've never seen it be so far in the standings. But either way, if they can maintain this consistency as we head into next split, they should be in much better shape. So we're on to Champion Select now, waiting for those bans to come out. What really caused problems for Overclockers on xNihilo? I don't feel like a whole lot. I feel like if anything is going to come out, it's going to be just bans that will are meta-based, and then maybe something against Morsu.
So coming into this week, looking at the picks and bans from week 4, which was the same patch that we're currently on, Tahm Kench is enabled for this week's picks and bans. So 100% pick ban last week, we actually saw Ryze, Kalista, Rek'Sai, Gragas, and Sivir all be in 100% of games in some capacity. So those are the ones that we're expecting. We're also expecting a lot of growth with regards to the meta that we were talking to Sayo about last week. So we'll see whether anything creeps through, but we've had a couple more of the bans come through.
We have. The Ryze gets banned out this time by xNihilo, so they don't want Kubon to have it, and they probably don't want Morsu to play it either. The Azir now comes out onto Overclockers. That will be, of course, aimed at Godzuki, has played that champion before. Alistar will just be that, again, that support ban that will be taken away from Libic. Just such a strong contender in the current meta.
A lot of focus from Overclockers on that middle lane. Ezreal, obviously, with the Rune Glaive right now, still very strong. And normally I wouldn't say Aurelia would be a mid lane ban, but it is kind of... We saw Soren play it, we've seen FLICKR play it, we've seen a couple of people play it. It's not a mid-game focus because it, you know, Morsu likes to play a split pusher, but certainly that's kind of a flex ban. I still think it's more towards Morsu.
Yeah, for sure. Morsu likes those solo pushes, but so does Kubon. That is the Kubon champion, so that's taken away off the board for this one. xNihilo, 1 ban remaining. Well, will they throw it? It will be the Twisted Fate at Take Fun. Okay, one of the champions he's moved to as the Assassin meta has moved away from him. Twisted Fate has been the champion he's picked up.
I believe last week banned in 3 games, picked in 1 and lost. So hasn't had the best record in Challenger, but one thing has slipped through the picks and bans, and that is the Kalista. Now we saw people talking about less priority on Kalista, but she's still very strong. That's why we're seeing it first pick. Sivir and Corki are still available here for xNihilo, so they don't need to rush to get a bot lane pick. Both junglers in Rek'Sai and Nidalee and Gragas are still available. So I'm trying to figure out exactly where xNihilo go here. They have a lot of options they can still go for their next 2 picks.
It's interesting though, because as you mentioned, Kalista's fallen down the priority list, and it's still a first pick for Overclockers. Are they stuck behind the times? We've seen other regions, specifically the Asian region, Sivir is like the way to go. We'll pick up Sivir, we'll just have that composition built around it. Kalista will still be the first pick. Now Nihilo can just wait on their AD carry, and they prioritize the Nautilus and Gragas over that. And that will be thrown in probably top lane, could be support, and definitely jungle.
They've left the Nidalee available into the Gragas, which is a matchup that people have talked about now, about this jungle matchup. The Nidalee is actually a favorable matchup, just by a little bit into Gragas these days. So interesting that Impaler doesn't want to go on to Nidalee himself and lets Tabasco have it the same as yesterday. We saw how much Tabasco did from the jungle, but obviously Overclock is in no rush to pick up their jungle. I'm going to pick up their top and their support with the Hecarim and the Thresh. I like these picks. Libic works very, very well on Thresh. It's one of the champions that we know he's very strong on.
Yeah, it's also funny because we mentioned this through all the weeks that all of the supports in Challenger are super great Thresh players at the moment, honestly. But yeah, Libic, great for the champion. Hecarim has been picked up as well. Will most likely go on to Kubon. We don't know what the top lane is just yet from Nihilo. Of course, that Nautilus is a flex, and we are just waiting on the final 2 picks from OC.
My assumption is Morsu's going to pick Gnar. That's the standard matchup that we see. Then again, it's Morsu, so he'll probably just last pick Fiora, depending on.
I was gonna say, is Gnar a Morsu champion? I don't think I've seen Morsu on Gnar, man.
I agree. I don't think it's a Morsu champion.
Does it have tanky stats? If yes, I'm not playing it.
Hey, no, it doesn't have to. Wicked has shown us Black Cleaver, Frozen Mallet, Hurricane, okay? It's 3-0 in the European Challenger Series.
It's true,
in the summer split. So maybe Morsu has gone to the Church of Wicked for that pick.
That's the adaptation he needs.
Tristana and Victor locked in here. This is going to give Nihilo the ability to not only push towers very quickly with the Tristana, but also give them the freedom of leaving kind of a lane with less pressure in it. The Victor can just wave clear out.
Right.
So expect Nihilo to look for the side lane towers fairly quickly in this game and just let Victor sit in the middle lane and deal whatever's thrown at him.
Well, that's the theory, but we'll see if they can put that into practice. Kog'Maw will be the next to last pick in from Overclockers, along with Rek'Sai for the jungle. So we do know where everything is going to go now. Take fun on Kog'Maw, though. That's a new one. We'll talk about that in a second as we are waiting on Nihilo. In fact, we have time now.
We do. We have got some time because I expect Morsu to take some time over figuring out what he wants here. As you said, still could be Nautilus in the top lane. That is a possibility. Haven't seen it all that much in Europe. Saw it a couple of games last week, but not really the top tier pickup here. So where does that leave us? Nihilo, if they were to go with a Fizz, then they're relying basically on Victor just for wave clear, which isn't particularly much of a problem. Triss does have some with the explosive shot as well, but it's not exactly consistent, and does mean that Tristana has to, for the earlier levels, push herself a little bit further forward. They do lock in the Fizz, so Morsu finds himself a matchup where he can look to 1 versus 1, and the question is, how long until Kubon can't 1 versus 1 Morsu anymore on the Fizz in Hecarim, because that's the tipping point for this game.
Yeah, that's where the problems will start seeping in. But now we have the full compositions. The only big difference here in terms of people playing different stuff is Take Fun's on the Kog'Maw now. Typically has not been the playstyle that Take Fun has adopted over the last couple of weeks, and indeed knowing him as a player for a while now. This is a different playstyle. It's looking for the long-range poke into those setups for team fights, in which they do have initiation as well. So if Overclock isn't played as well, it's a good composition. Yeah,
although I'm not sure how the Kog'Maw... So it doesn't intrinsically fit into an engaged composition all that well, because you're relying on the spacing between yourself and the enemy team to at least have that buffer of I'm not going to get dived super quick. So if Hecarim's going in and Rek'Sai is going in and Thresh is getting Kalista ulted in, there's not a whole lot of peel for the Kog'Maw. So if Fizz comes around the side, you can get onto him. But I mean, it's to do with how Overclockers can position Take Fun in this fight. Over on the other side, I think it's a fairly much easier composition to look at and you know, say exactly what's going to happen. Morsu wants a split push, as always. Trist is going to want to push down towers, and Victor is just going to wave clear it away. And from that, they've got Gragas to disengage, and Nautilus as well, should they need that bit of peel, or a lot of peel, because there's a lot of peel that comes from Nautilus.
Yeah, we'll see how the Victor does as well, because more of a champion that's great at like dealing with people who's running at you. But either way, let's get into this one. Remember to tweet on Twitter using those hashtags OCWin or EXNWin. Tweet at LOL eSports. I'll be checking in on your thoughts during the game.
And my thoughts during on the game.
This
could be quite a fun, open, loose kind of game. Because, again, it's for pride, but whoever loses this game has the worst record of any CS team this season.
This season, yeah.
Yeah, because Mouse went 2-8 last week.
Very true. Let's get into this one, Stress. Overclock is on the blue. Ex Nihilo on the right on the red team. Who will get this game? Who will prove they are better than the other? And maybe can do something in the next split, because neither team looks horrific. They all have good points. It's just about making sure that they can expand upon those good points and cover up a lot of the weaknesses that have been showing against other teams. Which has put them behind. But this is definitely a more level playing field that we've seen so far in the summer split. And we'll see how this one works out. Everyone's just fanning out. I'm not going to have too much happening in the early game here.
Yes, not for now. But I think one of the most intriguing things is, like, you look at the experience on the lineup from Ex Nihilo and even on the side of Overclockers. Overclockers less so with regards to LCS, but I mean, Ex Nihilo, they've got players that have been on the top of the LCS scene. They've swapped a couple out now as well, and it's so strange to see them at this point in the standings. And especially when it comes to just even sometimes it's individual mistakes that are just creeping into the play. It's just a weird one, and I kind of struggle to see exactly where they can improve without, you know, just kind of overhauling their decision-making inside the game.
Yeah, it feels like that is the case. Like, we were coming into the split saying, Ex Nihilo, Denial, look at all these LCS players. Right. They should be top 2. Nope, Dignitas came out of nowhere and crushed everybody. And then Gamers 2 as well have really been showing what they've made of over the weeks. But yeah, Ex Nihilo have just not really shown how strong they are, or shown any strengths really at all in this split. The one win that they had so far was because the opposing team was running at Ex Nihilo while they were running at them, and then the bigger freight train won. So. It
did. I also have to kind of commend Ex Nihilo for their start against Team Dignitas last week. They did show that they changed how they were playing with regards to the objectives they were taking in the game. Yesterday, not so much.
That was a week 3 Ex Nihilo that we saw yesterday.
Right. It was Ex Nihilo that weren't really focusing on things, but certainly they've shown us that they can fix those problems, as have Overclockers, to be honest. Their game against Dignitas, it's weird. Why do the bottom teams have such great starts on our broadcasted games against Team Dignitas, but yet against each other, kind of fall apart?
They over-prepare for Dignitas. We've got to put up a strong showing to the alpha in the group.
I wonder whether there's a second edge to that sword. But nevertheless, teleport coming in the top side from Morsu to hit that level 2. You can see Karim did basically the same thing with Kuban hitting level 2 as well. So now junglers are solo, and they're both on the bottom side of the map in standard lanes. So I'm not expecting all that much for the next couple of minutes without some real mistakes when it comes to lane positioning.
Yeah, Impaler could go bot lane here, and we've seen from yesterday Tabasco had a very good read on where Impaler was going to be. They actually did just spot Impaler just there with the Sentinel coming in from Kalista, so they'll know that Impaler is going up the river here. And he is going into the opposing jungle, but there's nothing there. He may loop all the way around.
Yeah, there is absolutely nothing here. Impaler went double buff, and then is looking to get out elsewhere on the map, get the crab, try and find Tabasco in the jungle. Tabasco on the other side did, however, just clear out his bottom side. Still hasn't gone for blue buff yet, but Takefun's running up towards him. Godzuki senses that something's up as Takefun turns. I think they have an idea that Tabasco was there. Didn't find him on the lower side of the jungle. Must be up on the top.
Also, no reason for Takefun to turn back into the two aggressors.
Yep.
Yeah, it doesn't take a genius to read that one. In the top lane, Morsu is going to be farming under tower here. Slightly behind in that farm. He won't be able to get a lot of those minions, actually, as the tower damage comes in. Yeah, losing a lot of those.
I think he thought he could get that first melee. Oh, Celiva.
Yeah, that would have set him up in terms of tempo for CSing underneath that turret. Celiva taking a bunch of damage from the explosive charge there from Crazy Caps. And Celiva will net the rest of these minions. You can see how he's setting up the minions with the Ren stacks and then piercing through them, trying to get them onto those targets.
So this is a really interesting matchup when it comes to the bottom lane for the Kalista and the Tristan, although Morsu's taking himself a weird matchup in the top lane, getting really chunked down by Kuban. But that bottom lane AD carry matchup, when you look at it, it used to be that Kalista kind of had a more beneficial matchup against Tristana until Tristana, there was a weird curve. Like, Kalista would have the advantage to begin, then Tristana would take over, and Kalista, once she's got about 7 or 8 Ren stacks, then you start to be able to actually compete. However, the changes to Kalista reduced her damage, and I feel like Tristana has a much more favorable matchup now, but Morsu, again, top lane.
Oh, flash into the knockup, though, from Tabasco. There's that first blood going over to Kuban. Morsu will be dropping again for first blood. Bot lane, though, Crazy Cats is getting aggressed upon. There's the Ren coming through. Libic is looking for blood. He starts the support. He gets the hook all the way through the Nautilus as well. Crazy Cats will be heading up behind the turret. The flay backwards into his AD carry. But right now, Celiva just wants to be farming.
That was maybe a pixel or two away from hitting naught in that situation.
Yeah.
I couldn't quite see how it managed to find Crazy Caps, but it did. Burns both of his summoners. Yeah. I mean, he's not quite slow, so I guess he's not too good at being a goalkeeper for hooks. But Celiva right now and Libic have control of this bottom lane. Look at it, 10 CS advantage right now. So regardless of the fact that Tristana in more prolonged trades should have the advantage, that Tristana is losing out in this match.
Oh, welcome to Hook City, Zaitan. Population U. It's taking a lot of damage in there. Just to get the Titan draft down, so it's not too bad. That was a mistake by Crazy Caps. He just explosive charged the minion wave and lost 5 minions because it exploded at the wrong HP. What he wanted was one more auto attack on the minion, which would have dropped them all low enough to attack another one and would have exploded all of them. That's what he wanted, but it was one auto attack away.
I looked at it and I was thinking that's such a sorry state to be in.
Yeah.
Like, you got this minion wave coming towards you, like, I'm gonna get all of them.
Lessons in how not to CS in the turret by Crazy Caps and Morsi.
Yeah, Impaler knows he can't enter that bush though. He's currently playing
it's like
Secret Agent Impaler,
mission,
which,
right?
you know, it's the return of the Secret Agent Nunu that we had from LCK, but it wasn't exactly stealthy. He just runs up and hits it twice.
Unfortunately, these Sentinels are not as bad as Solid Snake was up against, so... Yeah.
What was that just now?
Impaler also looks a little different from Solid Snake, I've got to say, on Gragas here. Oh, he's been spotted again. Man, he is not stealthy at all. Nope. 2 for 2. Both guards found him.
Yeah, I mean, one he was kind of wailing on. I don't really...
I'd spotted him at first before he decided to turn and fight him.
I am really kind of confused by this matchup that Morsu has put himself into right now, because he's basically sacrificed a lot of his laning phase with this Fizz into Hecarim matchup. Since Kuban managed to get there first, Kuban is landing more damage in the trades and is just more effectively laning this, and they brought jungle up to help to kill him earlier. Now Morsu goes aggressive, doesn't quite have the damage, and it's just an ult for ult trade at this point. So Morsu's been on a bit of a rough end of the deal, got to the lane late, got ganked, lost his life. It's a tough spot to be in, but he is no Flash, so if Morsu burns his E here, Kuban is going to engage.
Oh, you mean like that, Stress? As Tabasco just goes in for the easy knockup, comes in with a Queen's Wrath and picks up the kill.
I mean, that's a gank that you can read every single day of the week. A no-flash Fizz tries to go aggressive when you know your jungle is around and you're both half health. Even though he was trying to get out, just not really able to do anything about that. Zaitan in the bottom lane got hooked in. Crazy Cap said, see ya, and has already recalled out, but it's not going to be enough for a kill.
Flash into the dredge line, gets her to the turret. Again, Libic landing a miracle hook. Last time it was between the legs of Nautilus. This time it was through the minion wave as it was going into the bush. Still connects it and forces the flash from Zaitan, which is a pretty nice thing to have in the bottom lane there. Reduces offensive capabilities quite significantly. They've actually burned all of the defensive summoners down in the bottom lane, while Overclockers still have all of them and have the CS lead. And Libic is still pressuring behind the minions.
Yeah, they haven't had the chance to go back right now, so Crazy Caps is going to pick up some CS under the turret and kind of look to equalize some of that CS difference. However, Crazy Caps has a BF sword. I'm expecting Celiva to go pick up a Bilgewater, the Cutlass, and maybe a longsword as well. Daggers? Yeah, my bad. Longsword. Don't need one of those anymore. You're looking for that recurve bow from it. The Cutlass with that. So now what they have to watch out for in the bottom lane is Celiva, when he has that active available. Tie that in with the damage, obviously, that's going to come from the Ren, from the Q. That's the point at which Crazy Caps kind of has to respect that in a shorter trade, it's not going to go so well his way.
Definitely the case. Mid lane, hello Take Fun. We haven't spoken about you too much this game. Sitting on the Kog'Maw versus Godzuki's Victor. Honestly, not a whole lot has happened in the mid lane. Hey Libic, how's it going? That pink ward's going to be cleared away there. Yeah, slight CS advantage over to Godzuki in this game so far. We had a slight interaction with the jungler before, but that's it. Morsu in the top lane misses the ultimate. I actually want to go back to the ultimate that Kuban used earlier because it was actually unnecessary because there was no real follow-up damage from Morsu who didn't have his ignite. So it may have been poor timing on Kuban's read on the ignite, or not entirely sure. Tabasco was looking for the gank, but Morsu did smite it out. Alternatively, he might have just really wanted to go back at that precise moment, and we'll be teleporting back in.
So, both kills in this game have come from the top lane, with Morsu falling twice. I like the priority that our Overclockers have put on the top lane. Obviously, Morsu needs to be strong enough to 1 versus 1. Impalo on the other side is putting his priority on the bottom side. Body slam to follow up, surely.
There's the dredge line. There's the Fate's Call.
Yeah.
So they burn the ultimate there and get a chunk of damage onto Libic. But yeah, that's the problem with focusing on support in that matchup, because Kalista's always going to save him post 6.
Yeah, I mean, Overclockers, I don't think are going to be too unhappy with that. I mean, they read where the jungler was. Now they can figure out whether he's sticking around in the bottom lane and maybe even look for a gank or the dragon for themselves. They do have decent ward coverage, but there is one from Xnielo just in front of the dragon pit. So depending on whether Impaler shows himself in the top lane in the next minute or so, maybe Overclocker's time to shine. I feel like Kuban has to defend that pink ward though for now, because that's going to be the key thing to reveal Impaler when he goes up there.
Morsu wants it. He's going to wait until Kuban goes away.
Kuban's just going to sit on that pink ward, because look at where the wave is. Actually, no, look at where the wave is. He has to go. Yeah, exactly. I was about to say, look at where the wave is. Morsu can't farm, but Kuban needs to farm this way.
He's gonna go to the tower.
Morsu desperately wants this. Does Kuban ult back for... No, so farm over the pink ward. Okay. Yeah. And here comes Impaler. This timing could not be more frustrating. Wouldn't have actually been spotted out by the pink ward for the first time anyway, but if he goes up the river, he would have. That's just
Morsu's
frustrating.
going to bait him as well. Kuban looking for the ultimate. May pick up the kill before Impaler arrives, though. Comes in with the flog. Pins him against the wall. Turns around with the Urchin Strike and takes him out. All he wanted was the farm.
That
Morsu outplayed him in all fields.
The most expensive farm I think Kuban's ever going to have when it comes to hit the worth from that. That was well played with the mind games from Morsu, but it is the first kill for Xnielo on the board. Overclockers right now 2-1 up. Yeah, no team have really looked for the dragon yet, and Impaler shows himself mid lane. Actually gets a ghost straight away from Tabasco, even though the ult is on cooldown for Impaler. There was no
Morsu.
real danger there.
Here comes the home guard. He's going to jump away. Blackwood Trickster, get flattened. I'm hacker him. Killing the bottom lane onto Selov, though. Pops him with the explosive charge. Does not get the mid-air flay. Does not get the hook either. Full yellow star on that one.
The teleport being used there by Kuban, though, yes, it picks him up a kill. There's going to be a window where teleport advantage is going to be for Xnielo.
Come on, man.
The Chaos Storm in the mid lane.
I just want to go back.
Wants to go back because he's got no mana. Has been forced out, so will force him to lose even more from that mid lane when he does back.
Not even sure if that was worth by God. He could have just death raised and be done with it, but okay. Kuban in the top lane. 2 1-on-1 up against Morsu. Morsu very rarely loses the laning phase by himself, but has made some questionable decisions just in the 1-on-1 and has fallen behind. 1 and 3 in this game, has fallen behind in CS. Also did this yesterday on Rise.
I would also say that the gank from Rek'Sai would also make it not 1 versus 1, but...
True, but in the following 1v1s,
yeah, I agree.
Morsu, like, still went in weird circumstances and mechanically outplayed himself.
Yes, the subsequent ones, but that is at that point where Kuban was already ahead and got himself a kill and was like 20 CS.
Yeah,
I don't disagree with you,
still waiting to come back into a game. Like, a lane is not over until it's like 2 kills or like 20 CS. That's kind of like the rule of thumb. It's not there. You still had outplay potential.
As you wish. Overclockers down in this bottom side do manage to secure themselves a ward after Zaitan put his down. But something to note at this point, with the tier stacking up on Kog'Maw, obviously we know looking for that Ludens and that tier point at which Kog'Maw becomes more effective after that level 11 that we've talked about so much. Once Overclockers reach that point, that's when they can really start looking to fight. It'll be around the same time, maybe a little bit after Kuban has got himself his Trinity Force as well. So that is when Overclockers will open this game up. Nilo, however, need a little bit more time to get Crazy Caps, get him the 2 or 3 items, get Morsu up past that Trinity Force as well, so he can look to 1v1 people down in the lane. But I don't know whether he's going to get that opportunity with Kubon so far ahead right now. Kubon is up in CS and up in kills and is ahead on the itemization with the Ninja Tabi and most of the Triforce complete.
The other problem I have is Nihilo is not a good team at waiting. They very much like to just go for things now, like getting caught in the bottom lane once again. Another fantastic hook from Libic. Zaitan again misses the hook on the wall. That's a stationary object. I saw you do that yesterday as well.
Oh, Godbro wants it. He's got barrier available. Ooh, did not want it for the auto attack to follow as well.
Yeah,
but
the aftershock, man.
Yeah. Down in that bottom lane, though, that was, yeah, as you said, Nilo getting picked off again as Overclock is setting up with the next gank. Kubon will meet Impaler on the top side, but is going to be able to just gallop his way out of it as his team secure themselves a tower on the bottom side of the map. Nilo really just haven't been able to shove their side lanes out to even look to take them down with this Tristana. Crazy Caps is down in CS, has a kill to his name, but has never really had time in front of the tower all that much. He's had a bit here and there, but nothing to write home about. And Overclockers from the tower, from the pick, will get themselves a dragon.
Well, in the previous matchup we saw between these two teams, Overclockers did have complete control over the dragons, and it looks like this game is going to be no different. Morsu, though, is pushing the top turret, and Kubon's going to be late to the party. He just had this home guard, so he's going to be in lane in a little while, but Morsu will have gotten a fair chunk of damage onto that turret, which is the important thing. If they can even up the turrets and maybe get ahead in that sense, that could be a way they can push this game.
Yeah, so what Overclockers did there was they brought Kubon to the middle lane, just walked him down, didn't have teleport available. Ooh, Morsu actually had turret aggro for quite a while there. What they were doing is saying that either Morsu pushes on his own and doesn't get the turret, or if they push down the top tower, we at least defend mid tower from Victor just shoving it in constantly. And at that point, the map doesn't completely kind of open up for Overclockers. You can see mid tower is still fairly healthy, but Godbro was looking to just push things out and out. So Overclockers managed to keep all of their towers pretty healthy at this point.
Yeah, another laser coming through, 2 for 2. Well, we've been watching them. More living artilleries. Having to living artillery to farm is a sorry state of affairs for a Cogmore. Again, not really a take from champion from what I've seen, but we'll see how it works out through the rest of the game. Again, another Death Ray comes in with the ultimate as well and just straight up kills him. Simple as that.
That looked far too easy for Godbro.
Yeah, just walked up to him and comboed him. The end.
I mean, no summoners available, really. It had the Ghost, but Take Fun popped it way too late. Yeah. We see a lot of Victor and Varus in the EULCS matches. And, you know, I don't feel like COG's all that dissimilar. I just feel like COG can't trade as well in the early game. Because obviously they both want to poke, but Varus early game, you just have more damage coming out from it because you're building AD, you don't have to rely on items, you just have stronger auto attacks, you can push with your Q a lot more effectively than the Voidoos that Take Fun is using right now. You can just see every time Godbro just moves forward, puts the laser down, Take Fun's just taking the laser, and between that and it not really being his style of meta champion, kind of underwhelming.
Yeah, very much so. I think the only man who would disagree with you is Power of Evil, who loves Wormmore, but apart from that, yeah, I completely agree. Impaler, though, into the bottom side of the mid lane. He's looking for this gank onto Mr. Cogmore. Wants to splatter this butterfly, but there is a ward over the wall, so Impaler's seen that and will have to back away. Tremor Sense also spotted him out from Tabasco. Libic in the bottom lane will take this opportunity to clear out the ward, do some spring cleaning in the bottom lane. Plays a ward over the wall, of course, as well, but has spotted Impaler, and Zaitan gets the smite down for the slow, is looking for the Fate's Call here to save his ally. There it is. Can he land the CC onto Celiva? A whole lot of nope.
Whole lot of nope at this point. And, you know, Nilo, they're just trying to get anything they can in this game right now. They're not playing this on a macro level. In fact, Overclockers aren't even looking to do anything other than just sit in their lanes right now. Which is a little bit weird. I would expect them to put some focus onto mid-tower for a bit, but they're also denying Nilo from ever really pushing out. Morsu can't push on his own right now without vision of the jungler. The bot lane from Crazy Caps and Zaitan seem to not be able to push past Celiva and Libic at this point. So there's no real way of Nilo getting back into this game until the next dragon comes up. That's going to be the one factor that could change this game, but honestly, Overclockers have enough of a lead in enough of their lanes, other than the mid lane, But this should be fairly comfortable second, right?
Yeah, I feel like Godbro, the longer this game drags on, will have a bigger and bigger impact, especially right now when he's got that large advantage over mid lane. Victor, a good ultimate onto multiple people, does a lot of damage.
Yeah.
And Impaler is in this mid lane, potentially could set him up for that, at least maybe blasting one person into him for the combo. Take Fun going to be clearing away these minions while his counterparts out of the lane. Stellar in the bottom lane doing the same. Has that Blade of the Rune King is building towards another recurve bow item. And on the opposing side, Crazy Caps is sitting on Infinity. Of course, that other item will most likely be the Hurricane.
Yeah, it will be. And in the mid lane, Ludenseko has been picked up with the Sorcerer's Boots as well. So now Take Fun is going to start dealing a little bit more damage. This is the time for Overclockers really to look to pick off one or two members of Ex Nihilo just time and time again. However, Morsu is looking to pick up Kubon is the one. This hasn't worked out for him all that well. The team he's got are not in position yet. That was a bit of a quick fire by Morsu. Too early, jumping the gun.
At the same time, he got the damage down. Wasn't a whole lot of it, but
I think
still.
he would have liked the kill a little bit more. But
Yeah, he would. He tried that earlier, didn't work out. Bot lane, again the Sentinels come out. Whoa, it's spotting anything. It's a pretty more like vision radius, but like all the places in the jungle are pretty like close quarters as well, so probably
just wants to hang out with wolves.
Yeah, yeah. Just do a 360. Chill out. Yeah, going back to that build actually from Saliva, it's interesting because now that the changes were made to Kalista where she benefits from 90% of AD, we found that attack speed builds and Blade Rune King is very much the way to go in terms of early item builds for Kalista. Before, we could see anything from like a Bloodthirster even for a first item from him. Static Shift we used to see even with the Bloodthirster. So
not anymore.
Difter.
Blade of the Ruin King and Hurricane is the way to go. Kubon, however, is about to run into three people from Ex Nihilo. Zaitan misses another hook.
Yeah, this time he hits the wall. Godzuki, however, has been called out. Oh, that's gotta hurt. The fail flash into the wall. Doesn't actually pay for it for his life, though. Also a little slow on the draw with the teleport. Rest of the team is already disengaged, but Overclockers don't punish.
Overclockers choose not to take that fight because they can get the mid tower instead. They know Crazy Caps is in the bottom lane and Godzuki had already been chunked, but they don't want to commit to the turret. Look at this. I mean, okay, they go for Dragon instead, but 3 melee champions were under that turret. You should not be able to have that kind of pressure to force people away from the turret with at least dealing damage to begin with. Although now Ex Nihilo are regrouping, coming back for this Dragon from Overclockers, but I feel like they could have punished that a little bit harder right now. That was a bit of a golden opportunity with the Victor not there.
Yeah, either way, they go for the safe option and pick up the Dragon. But now they're out of position to defend the middle turret, and Ex Nihilo respond with the turret. They are still behind in those objectives, however, but in the bottom lane, Saliva was split pushing. Funny, like, Saliva is one of the 2 players in EUCS who is not naturally a split pusher, as in like a top lane champion who has split push capabilities, who will split push. The other one being Dan, who will just split push no matter what stage of the game it is. Okay, yes, I have the Smite and Barons going down, but whatever, I'm going to split push. Saliva likewise. I remember a game last split when he was on Graves, he was just chilling in mid lane, split pushing, picked up an inhibitor. That was back in spring. But yeah, these players just have a tendency to enjoy split pushing.
They do. But it did just cost the team a turret.
Right, that's, yeah, exactly.
Knowing that Saliva was bot lane, there was Ex Nihilo kind of do what Overclockers could have just done. Yeah. Run up to the turret. Okay, they got a Tristana, they got a Victor. They can just kind of clear the wave and put the explosive shot on the turret. But still think it's a missed opportunity from Overclockers. Nevertheless, it's the hand that has been dealt, so we'll see how Overclockers continue to play with it. But at this point, Overclockers are trying to take away the jungle from Ex Nihilo, look to set up some vision to maybe create some picks for themselves, but I think it's going to be fairly hard worked unless Ex Nihilo step out randomly at this point.
Which Ex Nihilo have been prone to do. Ex Nihilo, however, in this game have not just been grouping and brute force and charging objectives. That's another difference we've seen so far. So this, at the moment, I would like to say, looks like a more looks like an Ex Nihilo that was playing against Team Dignitas EU. Maybe not as proactive as we saw, but a little more calculated.
Godbro is so in Take Fun's head right now. Neither of those lasers were gonna hit. but because obviously he has to stop the recall.
He gets the flay. There is the knockup as well. Kuban from the top lane. Great interrupt by Impaler from over the wall, but still Godzuki will fall in with the onslaught of shadows. Gets the fear backwards into his team. Lands the living artillery for the vision. Lands the second and gets the double kill. Meanwhile, Zaitan, he finds the wall, but might find death as well as Kuban comes over the wall. Gets him with the rampage. Crazy Cats was thinking about dealing some damage, but thinks better of it and will head back to his turret. Morsu, meanwhile, is taking his turret in the top lane.
At this point, Overclockers take the mid lane turret from it and should just force this one down. It's going down fairly slowly. Where are Overclockers rotating out to? Are they going to do a Baron here? They have Kalista, and they have a fair amount of damage right now. We are going to a replay of that fight. This is the fight where Godbro just gets completely blown up. I believe they're still on the Baron right now. As this is a very early Baron from Overclockers. With that, Kalista should be able to get it, but this is the fight that's kind of just happened. Impaler just gets nailed by the second here, but I really want to get back to live because Overclockers are on a Baron right now.
I need to know.
Have they done the Baron?
I need to know.
I really need to get back to live. Okay, they're still on the Baron right now, so that took a super long time to see. Morsu's got it.
Is that Wonderworth? Gets picked off in front of the Baron. Crazy Caps as well, right underneath. You won't actually get that joke until later on. But yeah, Overclockers taking the Baron down. We'll be going over to that team. The first Baron of the game, plus Dragon, plus those 3 turrets. Overclockers in a pretty good shape in this game. We'll be going back to base, regrouping, and hopefully being proactive.
Check into mid though. Lantern is out.
Oh.
Hops to the Lantern. Gets himself out.
Got him with the depth charge. That one's not going to miss. But yeah, Crazy Cats will go back to farming. Now Overclockers are in prime position. Actually, that delayed recall will put them behind maybe 30 seconds in any plan they were thinking of executing. Because the rest of the team will need to get into position. Meanwhile, Impaler is going on to this red buff. And Celeber gonna? No. Impaler smites it away.
Yes,
got away.
he does.
Smash and grab.
Smashing. Well, they just traded red buff for Baron at that point with a couple of kills sprinkled in here and there. But right now, Overclockers with that Baron buff should have a much easier time now pushing in to Xnilo, and will actually deny Xnilo's ability to take towers themselves. But there's a Black Cleaver on Rek'Sai.
Nice.
Not going for full tank, but
let's see how
we're going to see how it does.
Against Godbro here. Needs to get in range first to allow those auto attacks to land. Olivic's going to help him out with that with the double man flay, but gets Fix called back into Celeber. Not sure if he entirely wanted that scenario, but the flash forwards from Celeber who would get the first kill with the Ren. Teleport now coming in by Morsu. Maybe a little bit too late, or maybe not. He's just going to cancel it. Screw you, Impaler. Goes down, and Celeber picks up the double kill. May have actually got interrupted in the top lane. Didn't quite see that from FLICKR. But Crazy Caps thinking about going to the bot lane with the support of Zaitan, but maybe not. Maybe one for another day. Perhaps we'll be getting out of this vicinity. I think maybe Nautilus was caught on the tremor sense there, and I think he was. Yeah, he was pinged out, so he'll be backing away. Also caught on the ward that was just placed down. And the bottom lane push continues by Overclockers.
Mid lane, though, Take Fun and Crazy Caps.
They're going at it, and oh, Crazy Caps gets taken out before Take Fun needs to do anything more about that one. Zaitan will be juking back into them, going underneath this turret. He'll be dropping low. He goes down for the double kill on to Take Fun. Take Fun has been racking up kills over the last couple minutes, and the mid turret will be falling. Bot turret as well as getting sieged in. Saw the inner turret just going down, and the inhibitor turret is also going to fall. Oh, the last couple of minutes, Overclockers have accelerated this game. Okay, so Celeber going underneath this turret, gets it with a rend as well. Was not even expecting that to happen. What is happening in this game, Stress? I feel like I've been play-by-playing for the last 2 minutes and a half.
It's because you have Pulse.
As Overclockers have just taken everything away from Xnilo.
Xnilo just kind of stood there in bottom lane and kind of went in one by one and gave Overclockers now 2 inhibs from those couple of kills and the Baron. Overclockers just basically have set themselves up to win this game. Morsu, meanwhile, is trying to get an inner turret while the rest of his base dies. Xnilo have just fallen apart.
Yeah, Kuban tries to catch Morsu in the top lane rather, but Morsu, while all of that was happening, was in the top lane and may actually just die as Tabasco will find him with the Prey Seeker. Morsu with the hops, the jumps, the urchin strikes. Will be trying to get away from Kuban, but no one outruns the horse. Or maybe they do, because Kuban doesn't manage to land the E in the right way. Morsu is trying to get away, gets hit by the Prey Seeker. Kuban wants him. He gets got it. Ignite. Outplayed. Impaler, though. Let me give you another one. Buy one, get one free.
Yeah, well, there's been a lot of kills that have kind of been like that for Xnilo, where they've just been walking into situations where you're never going to be able to help anyway. That's the most confusing thing about this, is why is Impaler even going up there? To help Morsu, who's a third of his health being chased down by a full health 2 members of Overclockers who are very fed. I mean, that question probably would be relevant a long time ago in this game, because I feel like Xnilo have just, ever since at least that Baron, have just kind of accepted that this one is not their game to win.
I appreciate the camaraderie though, right? Like, never leave a man behind. It's just like, leave me, I'm dead. It's like, no, I got you. And then they both die. So yeah, lesson learned, kids. If your allies is gonna die anyway, just go and farm raptors or something. Probably more profitable.
Man, there's been some painful things for a couple of moments in this game, with Kuban losing out on that farm and losing his life.
Moments in this game, Stress.
At that point, but this is going to be the third in-hit turret going down.
The living artillery is onto Godzuki. Payback from the laning phase, but Senua does get caught out, and then Pela lands the big ultimate, but another big ultimate by Kuban locks down the team of Xnihilo. They're all dropping so low, and that is where Kalista thrives, if only she was alive, because Tabasco is the one to chase them down with Kuban. Meanwhile, Morsu going for the one-on-one versus Takefun. Maybe he gets it, or not. Takefun is going to take him out. There's the double kill once again. Double kills all game long. The last inhibitor goes down. The last Nexus turret goes down. And so will the Nexus itself. 19-4. Huge advances by Overclockers. And this was all over in the course of the last 5 minutes. Overclockers are now the 5th place team in the EUCS.
It's the Mouse story all over again from spring. You
the
go
dream.
0-8.
The dream.
0-8 for the first 4 weeks and pick up 2 wins right at the end of the split. I mean, Overclockers looked solid. I wouldn't say too much more than that. They had a game plan. They played it. There were mistakes from both sides, but certainly an improvement on what we've seen from Overclockers. They looked proactive. That's one of the things that we've kind of said that they haven't done so much over the last 5 weeks. So I guess, as we said, it's a tale of improvement. Week 4 to week 5, Overclockers improved. Xnihilo somehow kind of went backwards.
Yeah, it was went up and down. They had a spike. But yeah, Overclockers, they finished the game really well as well. After that one advantage, they just went from lane to lane to 2 inhibitors after like 2 picks. Destroyed everyone. And Kuban in that game as well, 11 KDA is Hecarim. Super impressive against Denial. Kuban just had a really good game. And that was 1v1 against Morsu, one of the most talented top lane 1v1 players as well. So yeah, props.
Yeah, I mean, Morsu even got to pick the Fizz. Could have picked the Gnar.
Yeah, exactly.
Could have.
He could have.
Chose the Fizz, wanted the Fizz matchup. Didn't work out for him.
No,
so,
it did not. Not at all, Stress. But that's 1 game down. So 2 to go. So we'll be back with our coverage of Mouse Sports versus Denial right after this. Welcome back to the European Challenger Series Round Robin. Next up is our penultimate game with Denial eSports and Mouse Sports.
It is, and it's the battle for third place. Sorry, I got confused. Not confused. You said penultimate, and I was like, oh,
pen.
Penultimate. No, sorry. This is me just getting carried away.
Nice.
My mind wanders sometimes.
Good stuff, Stress. Let's get to the lineups. On Mouse Sports, it is Beansu in the top lane, Dan in the jungle, Sayo in the mid lane, Cedra in the Mountain, and AD carry and support. And Cedra and Mountain is the people I want to talk about because they had a fantastic start to the split chess. So good. We highlighted them in week 1, week 2. And then they plateaued, and then they plummeted. And it was like, why did they do that? So we looked into their performance, and yes, they performed extremely well against the lower tier teams, but extremely badly against the higher tier teams. But that was just like a week-by-week basis. So in the first week, extremely strong. You can see against Overclocker's next Nihilo, to be expected, super great performance, 7.5 KDA between both of the bot laners. This is a combined KDA. Then we looked at the higher tier teams with Dignitas, we looked at Gamers 2, not so impressive, 3.6 KD between the bottom lane, and that was reflected throughout the rest of the map as well. So yeah, TLDR, not super great against the top tier teams. They're very much a middle of the table team.
And that TLDR is the same one. The MOUZ is an organization for their League of Legends Challenger team has had for as long as I can remember. Because they've always been that third, fourth kind of spot challenger team, always losing to teams above them, but typically beating teams below them, aside from Spring. Spring Split this year was really the only time that I feel like they've been a little bit worse. So that's kind of how MOUZ have been for a while, but I think that the addition of Sayo and Dan have given the team a little bit more of a bite to them, to how they play the game. The key factor for themselves as a team, though, is they need to get good team fights. The team, in general, has a lot higher kill participation than a lot of other players when you look at them just as a whole. However, I don't feel like they're a team that are ever going to be able to make the same kind of individual plays that we see from the top challenger teams.
Yeah, absolutely. As you mentioned, it was almost a 10% difference between the other teams in terms of kill participation. So yeah, definitely working together for those kills. But we do want to take a look again at their opponents. And in Denial, it is Wicked in the top lane. Kairi now coming in over Betong Yoka, returning to the lineup. Kotsky in the mid lane with Warline and Wendelbo in the AD carry and support. Now, last week, Denial did not have the best performance. In the first game, they were continuously getting caught over and over and over again. Now that Kairi is back in the lineup, when he was in the team, he had a great performance. But then he was subbed out, and we just saw Betong Yoka. We never saw Kairi again, until now. So can Kairi return to that performance?
Yeah, we saw Betong Yoka in yesterday's games, or we will see it. But the last time we saw Kairi was weeks 2 and 3. There's a big change from his performances. I feel like Kairi offers a lot more early game presence, but we spoke about yesterday's game, so let's get right to it. Because from yesterday, we saw another different pick from Dan.
Yeah, again experimenting. He goes for this other fringe pick of Nocturne, and we're actually going to see the very start of this one. So, Betong Yoka dunks Beansu in the top lane, basically that. And then, yeah, Betong Yoka again just finds Sayo in the middle lane.
Yeah, that's the early game two-man squad that Wicked and Betong Yoka kind of were setting up picks in. So we're further into the game as Kotsky, he's still got it with the Shurima shuffle in mid lane, but it's not enough to keep him there as it's 1 versus 3. He doesn't survive too long. The rest of the team kind of come in and clean things up.
Yeah, he would have loved to clean up if he was still alive, but doesn't get that one down. So a lot has been traded back and forth. Almost 30 minutes in now. Towers and Dragons have been traded, but then Denial grabbed the Baron while Dan is split pushing bot lane again. And Miles get the turret, but have to use the TP coming in and lose Beansu in the in the process, and Dan just pieces out.
Yeah, Dan is just like, hey, I'm out of here. But while the Baron buff is on them, 2 inhibs are picked up by Denial, and they pretty much just set themselves up for a very swift end to the game.
Yeah, they completely just closed out this game. Miles just kind of rolled over and died. Wow, was a difficult stress. But yeah, Denial just came in here and just rolled over him. So a very different game from what we saw last week from Denial. And it wasn't because of Kairi, because Betong Yoka was here. He just turned up.
Yep, just rocks up, gets himself in there. And, you know, honestly, I feel like he had a pretty decent game from yesterday as well. But player that had a pretty decent game, top lane, Wicked, playing Maokai, 1-0 and 11 in yesterday's game.
Yeah, very different pick from him as well. We usually see like the Nars, the Aurelias, the Hekarims, Malphites from Wicked, but yeah, adding Maokai to his champion pool and just did super well with the pick. Woolite as well, his teammate, played Corki, not Tristana, surprisingly, but again, had a very good performance, 8-1-3.
He did, and on the other side of the rift, in the AD carry spot, Cedrian, talked about him before, against the top, against the bottom teams. This was a team that is about even with them, really, when you look at it. These two are battling for third, fourth spot, did not have a great game.
No, did not perform. And that was mirrored by Mountain as well, did not have a great performance in that game. So I guess the question is, like, can they pull back today? Because this is really weird, because you never really see a correlation in terms of the people that Denial sub into their team versus how well they do or how badly they do. Because Betong Yoka was in this team, we were like, oh, where's Kyrie? He'll do super well. Betong Yoka shows up, now subbing Kyrie in. Is he going to do badly? Is he going to do well? Will Denial win? Who knows? We're going to find out as we head into Champion Select. So looking for this first pick, it will be Irelia banned out by Mouse, and Wicked will respond with Twisted Fate.
I think the European Challenger Series is one of the only leagues in the world with this high an Irelia ban rate.
Maybe, yeah.
Because you've got Wicked, you've got Kuban, you've got Morsu, all of these players, it's like, just give me Irelia. Just, that's all I want.
Yeah. Across the entire league, because they've got 6 teams as well, so statistically it checks
Very
out.
high Irelia ban rate, yeah.
Rise will be the next ban. Up against Wicked. Doesn't strike me as a Rise champion, but doesn't strike me as a champion Wicked couldn't play. So we'll be banned away from Denial here.
Well, this is the 8th consecutive game. Oh, not including yesterday, so it's not 8th consecutive.
Combo breaker.
I believe it was banned in all games yesterday as well, other than the one that Xnilo played, so not consecutive at all. Lots of Rise bans in the EUCS. 100% last week. Saw it banned in the first game of today, and now we're seeing it banned again. That's the TLDR.
Good stuff, Stress. So Azir will be the next ban. That will be aimed at Sayo. We've praised Sayo's Azir time and time again. It's been great from week to week. Just dishes out a lot of damage. Does really well with the champion. And what will be taken away from D now. Definitely a target ban. Last ban will be Alistair coming in from Mouse. And again, we've already spoken about Alistair today. Just a super good pick. Rek'Sai will be banned. So that leaves... What does that leave?
It leaves Nidalee and Gragas, and Nidalee is the favorable matchup there. So that's an easy first pick for Mouse to pick up. Dan onto a meta jungler.
Whoa.
I know.
Insane.
I mean, we saw him on Rek'Sai one game last week. He was split pushing. And used the ult to kind of get back. Nidalee's not a champion you can do that so much on.
Oh,
so,
really? Dan will show you otherwise, Stress. Just you wait.
Please, not like Lichbane split push Nidalee. Please don't do that, Dan.
My body is ready.
But nevertheless, that is what we're seeing. So it wouldn't be Lichbane anyway, because you're going to go Runeglaive.
Yes.
So,
True.
2 Sheens.
2 Sheens doesn't work out, not at all. So yeah, we're going to see the Gragas. That will be locked in. But obviously Nidalee does well against Gragas. Kyrie's going to be on the champion. Kyrie likes early game champions. Also likes transform champions. But
he does
not go for the Elise here.
Kalista is available. Sivir, Corki are available. Top laners, a lot is up still as well. So there really are a good few options to pick up here. So Corki, Gragas locked in. Fairly standard out by Denial. And that's some fast lock-ins on the side of Mouse.
Okay, Nautilus comes out with the Victor in the middle lane. So yeah, Victor is pretty good as a first pick in mid lane rather than like a counter pick because he's so safe. He just farms from lane. If it's a bad matchup, he just kills them. If it's a good matchup, like Victor is just so easy to pick very early on into your rotation. And then Mouse will also pick up the Nautilus. Could go top lane. Beansy could play it. Could go bot lane. Mountain can play it. Just a good pick.
Yeah, we see Victor first pick very commonly in LCK. I believe it was even today in the series with Rebels Anarchy versus Ku Tiger's first pick Victor. So we see it a lot. And it's not too surprising, as you said, to see it early on. However, the Azir matchup not available for Denial as they banned it. Varus would be one option. We see that quite a bit. Jace less so because of the frequency of poke coming out, being reliant on his gate to come up. So Denial have a couple of options available. It's going to be a Cassiopeia. So that's a very short-range matchup. Considering how we've been looking at poke champions, now they're wanting to play Cassiopeia into Victor and Nidalee. That's quite a treacherous matchup to traverse your way through in that middle lane.
I do wonder if the Cassiopeia was does this work into the composition or opposing composition pick, or because CosQ likes the pick? Because we've seen this, what, 3 weeks in a row now, where CosQ has just picked up Cassiopeia.
True.
We saw the Cassiopeia Triss over and over and over and over again when Woolite was on the Tristana train. So yeah, CosQ again goes for the Cassiopeia. I wonder if this was thought about. We'll pick it up, and Morgana comes in as the support pick for Wendell Bow. Could go elsewhere, but I'm expecting support in this scenario, and we're just waiting on the next couple picks from Mouse.
So, Kalista and Sivir are both available, but you want something that could kind of facilitate a little bit more of the poke aspect coming from the Nidalee, I would imagine, especially with the Victor. So I think both are good options, but it's actually going to be a Caitlyn that they're going to go for as that locks in. So I don't mind the pick when it's isolated, but certainly it's not top of the meta pick when you look at things. Into the Corki, you'll outrange Corki, very difficult for Corki to actually trade in that lane. So that is one of the reasons that we're seeing this matchup.
Okay, so the Maokai was the other pick that came in from Mouse. We did see that picked up by Wicked last week, or yesterday rather. And then yeah, has just been was a good pick and then dipped off, and then found its place again as we came into the poke meta. So yeah, has been often used. In this one is not a counter, obviously, to the poke. It would just be a pick in the top lane that would be used to engage. We are just waiting on the very last pick in from Denial.
Yeah, and Wicked can just basically pick almost anything into a Maokai.
Yeah,
a lot available. There's Rumble up. What else? Rise Irelia are banned. He plays a lot of Malphite and Na. Probably wouldn't want to go for the Malphite. That's one matchup that you kind of... Malphite's kind of the other equivalent of just containing. Yeah. There's no reason to contain a Maokai.
And you want to build armor, and Maokai's just going to queue you all day. And it's
exactly.
Like, so yeah, Na will be the pick here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Will it be Hurricane Na?
He could build that. He does like to do it against multiple melee targets, and we have 2 melee targets, but a Nidalee who is ranged or transforms, half and half. So 2.5, is that enough for him to go for the build?
Is it enough? That's a good question for it. But the rest of the lineup, CosQ, as we said, has played this Cassiopeia before. They're not going all in on scaling for Denial this time. It's not quite the Tristana with, you know, a scaling top laner as well as mid lane. So Denial should be favorable to fight in kind of the mid game. Once Corki's got his Trinity Force over the other side, Maus are looking to set up in front of a turret, have Caitlyn just auto-attacking down, throw out the Nidalee spears, and just try and push down some objectives.
Yeah, push him down, push him in, take him out. That's the name of the game. But yeah, it's interesting, this matchup in general. This will change the landscape of the middle of the table. Denial versus Maus. So they are currently tied up in the middle of the table. So a win here will change their seeding. Remember that Gamers 2 cannot actually drop all the way to third now. So yeah, they are competing to not play against Dignitas.
Which they won't know where they end up until after our last game of the day.
And not just Dignitas. Could also be Gamers 2 if they win later on as well. So remember to head over to Twitter, tweet at LOL eSports, use those hashtags, and then we'll be getting into this DNL win and MOU win. We'll be talking about your predictions as we get into the game.
We will do. But during the game, if you do happen to spot a big play, make sure you tweet that at us as well using the hashtag CSBigPlays. So that is the other thing, but we'll have to watch for if one of those comes out.
Yeah, CosQ's play yesterday was pretty sick, but yeah, can't use that one. It's got to be from today. So Mouse are going to be spawning onto the rift here with Denial onto the red side. What will they pull out? Already starting off the Q spam from CosQ, who want to be doing that as much as possible to charge up that passive. And we'll be getting onto this one. So, Denial, 1 game up in this in these 2 games. And Mouse do really need this game. That would put them 1 game ahead of Denial.
So the funny thing is, this is a really weird one because it depends on who you want to face. If you want to face Team Dignitas, specifically, you just got to kind of sit back. If you just want the 3rd place seeding to play whoever plays 2nd place, then you better win this game. This game does not impact our playoff match until our last game has been played itself too. Whichever team wins or loses this, both of them go in with the lower seeding into our 2nd matchup.
So what you're telling me, Stress, is if you can predict the future and know who's going to win the final game today, you have a better understanding of how you want to do in this game.
Exactly.
Cool.
I mean, you want to win either way.
Yes.
Got to get that good record.
But then you win, and then Dig lose, and then you play into Dig, and then you get 3rd place.
Oh, then you should have lost. But or Dig should have won. No, should have won. You've got to believe in the Danes if you don't want to meet them. Win this one and hope they win. So, yeah. There's that. It's all up in the air.
Win the lane, beat the Dane. That's how it goes down. Cedrian going into the top lane, looking for this lane swap. We did see some aggressive walls coming from both the teams while we were derping around. So Cedrian and Mountain will be going up there. I do not believe they were spotted. There was no lane swap wall coming in from Denial. And their duo lane will be going into the bottom lane. Okay, so Beansu has set up for this. We'll be going onto those wolves. Cedrian setting up the freeze in the top lane. And Warlight and Wenelbo starting off the Grump as well. Unfortunately, Crepa was not here to give them a rating. I'll have to ask him later. And CosQ and Sayo in the mid lane.
However, Wicked was just given both of the Krugs in that situation, so Wicked is already level 2. This is something we very, very commonly see, specifically a lot of the LCK teams do it. It's one of the reasons why Marin has been getting so far ahead, is even more so than this situation, because sometimes he gets even more. They give over the full experience, gets him to lane comfortably. In Marin's case, sometimes he even gets a buff and ends up like getting level 3 super early. So this time it's not too much of a difference, but I wanted to pick up on the fact that Wicked had that assistance getting the entirety of the camp. That way he can just teleport in.
But it's so interesting as well because it's a choice. Because LPL, they do not do that. They give it to the jungle. They split it up, so...
Greedy junglers.
Greasy LPL junglers. Dan here, though, will be taking that boob of all for himself. Gets that level 3. We'll be looking towards the top lane. There is going to be no reaction from Kyrie if he starts on the top side of the map and is now on the bottom side. So with this side, which will be the strong side, Dan may be able to go for the dive if he dips all the way around, which may be the case. I think he's gonna, he's gonna ward over the wall here, and maybe look for a gank top or mid, or just walk in circles for a little bit. Either's fine.
Whatever floats his boat. Wicked went and picked up a pink ward as well, which he's not going to have too much of an opportunity to actually put down yet. It's a really weird one to pick up a pink ward this early on, just in the way that unless he puts it behind the red, he's never going to spot anything coming like this.
Let's place it down right now. Let's mind game them.
He is getting zoned pretty heavily low. This was a bit of a weird timing out by Mouse, actually. So normally you'd kind of see the jungle pathway go together with top for a while longer, and you'll see a 3-man come up to the top lane. And then you'll see the defense come through as well in more recent lane swaps. It's a weird one. We're actually going back in time to this 3 versus 1 style. Beansu is under his turret, though.
He very early used the W in this one. Kyrie's going to take one more tower shot. The last one does not lock onto him. Another one will hit Wendelbo. They're very low in that dive. Beansu, despite using the early twisted advance, was still able to get out of that pretty much unscathed.
These are really kind of inefficient and non-standard lane swaps. So at this point, Denial are losing a lot of experience and farm onto Wicked. You can see Beansu is already level 4, is up in CS as well, and is zoning, and is not getting zoned in the bottom lane. Top side, however, Wicked is getting zoned out pretty heavily here. Beansu goes aggressively on Wendelbo.
Yeah, twisted advance will be blocked out by the black shield from Wendelbo, so again, not going to be too dissatisfied in the bottom lane. Wicked was popped into his ultimate form. This is not even my final form. Throws up the rock, throws down the house, brings down the house. Nice.
Wicked right now is fearing or feeling the wrath of a Caitlyn lane. As Caitlyn and Nautilus is even more frustrating to play against in the 1 versus 2. So Kyrie's having to come up top and actually protect Wicked a little bit here. I don't think they actually have the kill pressure 2 versus 2 in this setup without Cedrian getting caught out by Kyrie. The damage would have to go onto Cedrian for Denial actually to win this 2v2 setup. Mountain would kind of have to just be off to the side, not doing a lot.
Yeah, Kyrie will wander in. He's going to help Wicked farm. Probably going to push in this wave and go back.
Yeah.
Seems to be the goal here. Kyrie's going to take one, get taxed. Mountain is just going to try and freeze this in front of the turret, or at least set them up for Cedrian to take them down. This is how you CS underneath the turret.
As one dies to the turret. It's
hey,
okay,
just one died, man.
It's
like,
fine. You're allowed some mistakes. It's fine. But I like Kyrie coming up there and assisting, because at least it kind of forces Cedrian and Mountain's hand now. They couldn't just kind of zone forever. You have to respect that the Gragas is there, even though I'm not too sure that it could have resulted in all that much more. But Wendelbo in this bottom lane has locked down Binsu, but has to kind of be careful because the damage coming from Dan, not from that spear though, as that one didn't hit.
So overall, who has this benefited as Kyrie just counter jungles here? The lane swap was initiated by Mouse, 24 farm on Binsu, 11 on Wicked. So
Right.
Good.
Normally though, it's the experience that you've got to look at on this. That the CS, while it is a nice indicator of who has the gold, it doesn't necessarily reflect who's winning in the lane swap. However, Binsu is almost a half a level up on Na right now. It has kind of evened itself out now that Binsu stepped back in the lane and is actually recalling. So it will end up about even in a couple of seconds' time. But Binsu did just use his teleport to get back to bottom lane. So now he is back in experience range on Wicked. Hasn't had a chance yet to go back and buy.
So Binsu is going to pick up this farm as well, which I think is going to be more than Wicked will get in the top lane. And he cleared it out as well completely. Mountain now heading into the jungle. It's level 4 here, places down the ward. We'll get that extra bit of information. Tear has been picked up by Kozq, so he started stacking that up as well as his passive. The mid lane we've not seen a whole lot from, but despite that, Kozq has accumulated a small CS lead in the form of 10. There comes the hook, Dredgeline connects onto Wicked, gets locked down with the staggering blow, and Zedrun will hit him. And Wicked will go back to turret.
Wicked hasn't had an opportunity to place that pink ward that he's got, which isn't a problem in the sense that he's still going to be able to put it down and utilize the ward. Yeah. But he has just been sat on gold that he accrued from the early start from the Krugs and hasn't been able to do anything with it. At that point, it's kind of problematic in the sense that he's just not really gained any benefit from getting that early gold without like a green ward or extra pots because he's just been zoned so heavily. But now we're ending up in upside down standard lanes and Wendelbo has been caught.
Yep. Taking a trip to Australia, Mountain comes in with another staggering blow onto Warlight. Another binding goes through the goalpost.
Oh,
Zedrun coming in with the autos. Locked on. Blast him down.
That was a bit risky by Warlight. It's kind of standing out in the open against the Nautilus.
Yeah, he'd already used his Dredgeline, but...
Right, but that's the thing about Nautilus is so much crowd control in his kit. Between staggering blows, Riptide, the Dredgeline, he has an exhaust as well. I mean, I wouldn't have wanted to use that in that situation, but certainly if Warlight continues to step out like that, it's going to be a problem. This time, however, Warlight is one of the ones surrounding Mountain, but Mountain is a little too tanky with that shield. Yeah,
Warlight, aggressive Falcon to the turret, will take a turret shot as well. Gets the flash, yeah, worth it. Honestly, in that situation, that's the one time I will say that Warlight, that was a calculated stay in front of the Nautilus, because he's not level 6, he can't point and click. He had the Dredgeline down, he'd already got hit by the staggering blow. Yes, he had the exhaust, but he also had the Valk, so he was okay.
I just get nervous. I get nervous.
Me too, Stress.
I'm just...
yeah, it feels wrong. Yeah, an AD carry should not be sat in front of the Nautilus.
That's the problem. Especially...
but if you know the cooldowns, it's fine.
Know your enemy and know yourself.
Master yourself.
Sun Tzu. Well, I was going for Sun Tzu, you go for Master Yi. Lee Sin, sorry. Whoa, whoops. I just said it was Master Yi as well. Whoops. I need to go learn my lines in this game. But no, I was going with Sun Tzu's Art of War.
Oh, okay.
I feel like that's kind of had quite the influence over warfare in the world. So
have you read The Art of War?
I've read part of it, and also I listen to a lot of Sabaton, and they have a song called The Art of War, which they quote it. So I feel like I'm well versed in Sun Tzu.
An expert now, pretty much.
Yes, that's how it works. Yeah.
Misinformation is required for allies as well as enemies. Kozq in the middle lane, still farming up and still ahead of Zaya in the middle lane as well, despite pretty much nothing happening. It's just been them farming. So he's got that one down. May have been taking the camps as well, actually, judging by the 97 farm at 10 minutes. Dan is going to be taking this blue buff. He's going to be trying to take it away. Kyrie and Dan are the only people there to really react, and they'll be coming in from 3 different angles with Wicked in the bottom lane. So pretty much an easy blue buff take there, well calculated from Mouse, and they'll be backing away with that one. With the Hall, and Kozq will be going back as well. What's he going to go back for? What's it going to be? There's lots of new item builds that Cassiopeia can build now. Basically everything is good on Cass.
I feel like if we don't see a Rallies, I would be quite surprised.
Yep.
I mean, 40% slow.
Kinda great.
Just like, oh, you have difficulty hitting Q. let me slow you 40%.
Now I no longer have an issue hitting Q.
Yeah, now I just always land the Q, which means I always get the reset on my E. But no, I expect the Rally's Abyssal Scepter probably going to come out fairly early, looking at the Negatron Cloak as well. So I guess it's going to be fairly standard on this one, and fairly standard across the board. Nidalee looking to build towards that Rune Glaive, which is what we've seen in the last couple of weeks after patch 5.12.
5.12. Ooh, tower shot. It's going to be getting more light. Tower's very low in the top lane. Kyrie is just behind that. What's this conga line of minions doing? Well, they just go off of a vacation? This is why the turret's going down. This is your fault, minion line.
You've lost the luau, the hats and the things. The beach party's over.
Yeah, I guess so.
Now it's time for a trip to Black Market.
Yep, returning to work. Ready to work. Anyway, so Sayo in the middle lane. Going to be coming back with some of these minions. What did he pick up? Okay, so Abyssal Scepter is the one to be picked up by CosQ here. And still got that tier, so interesting first item pickup. We were thinking of potentially the Rylai's. The Andrews is also great. It's not going to be that this time. Sayo's trying to keep up and farm, taking these Raptors as well as his junglers elsewhere. Not a whole lot has happened in this early game.
It's been a slow early game to start this one out, but this is going to kick it off.
Yeah, Wicked's going to be teleporting into the top lane. Cedric's going to be blasted into the team by Kyrie. Great explosive cast. And Mountain just has to stand there as he watches his ally die.
That was the opening that Denial needed to get themselves ahead, or even more ahead. They did have a slight lead before this from the tower that they did get. Traded it in favor for the Dragon, though, so both teams playing the objective game up until now, but that was the Cedrin kind of overstepping in the lane. No real escape tool with that flash. Not available from the play that Woolite made earlier, where he burned the flash just under the turret.
Yeah, well played by Denial right there. Kyrie, great ultimate coming in. Also picked up the kill, so it will get him faster to that Cinderhawk, which he will be picking up. 13 minutes into this game now. That slight CS advantage over to Denial, or rather Gold, but it's the Dragon which went over to Mouse.
Denial have good vision of the top side jungle as well on the blue side. Real good control over at least most of the camps here. Pink Ward they do end up losing. They're probably going to lose the second here because I don't think they can defend it. So those Pink Wards a little bit far forward, I think, for this early on in the game, considering mid tower is still up for Mouse. The vision control good, utilization of Pink Wards little bit greedy to try and get that deep vision this early on in the game without really pressuring Mouse out.
Yeah, just a little right there, as Mouse will be taking this blue buff. We didn't touch Nut in 10 minutes, but this is actually the only the second time that Cedrin has been down at 10 minutes in farm. Over to Woolite this game. The last time was Gamers 2. It was a long time ago. But Cedrin is usually up. This is also one of the few times we usually see Mouse and lane swap. They don't lane swap all that often compared to Denial. And they do lane swap against Denial. So, a game of new things.
Ooh, CosQ's playing greedily though here. Oh, nice ult though.
I'll be cleansed out of, but Dan may not be so lucky as CosQ will jump after and lands the double Twin Fang and comes out with a last noxious blast to try and tag Sayo. Doesn't get it, but does get all of his summoners and the flash from Dan at the cost of 2 summoners and an ult. Nice.
Yeah, CosQ really getting the gains on that, but looked like he was in a bit of a sticky situation. And CosQ's been one of the more quiet mid laners we've had this split. CosQ in spring, I feel like, made a name for himself, kind of saying that he'd 1v1 anybody and would win pretty much every lane. But summer, CosQ's just kind of looked just solid in general. Looking for a kill, though.
Oh, the gravity field. Kyrie, what a good guy. Stands in front of the turret, make sure the aggro doesn't switch to Cassiopeia, which would have been the end of CosQ there. So well played by Kyrie. Well played by Sayo as well. Mountain comes in with the depth charge, comes in with the staggering blow, and the Riptide, and the exhaust, and the CC, and Woolite just has to stand there and meet his fate.
Yeah, he knew that even if he did flash and try and Valkyrie out, that was the end of his life. Ace in the hole was available, so just saves it. Bottom lane, though, Beansu flash out.
Bringing down the house onto Beansu. He's a tree, though. He's pretty good to go. But yeah, that's why you don't stand in front of a Nautilus stress.
Right.
In situations like that.
I mean, that's kind of why I was getting worried earlier. It's like, okay, you've got flash available.
Well, this one wasn't calculated. That's
but look how far down the lane Woolite was. That's the biggest thing about that. He stood way past where the first tower should have been for Mouse. And okay, Denial had jungle control, they've now only got 2 wards left there. Cedrian is now going to push top lane as well. A little bit greedy if they didn't know where the rest of Denial was, but Wicked was getting chunked out on the bottom side himself.
There's the ultimate coming in from Victor, landing onto Wicked's gonna chase him down, but he gets him with the Death Ray instead. The spear comes across, will be sidestepped by Wendelboe. Kozku also coming into the action, the flash into the body slam by Kyrie. Will be getting the stun out onto Mountain. He's gonna be stationary for days while Denial take him out.
Oh, perma stun locked up. And there's still a lot of crowd control still on the side of Denial. Cassiopeia ult up and Morgana ult available should Denial look for another fight. But looks like with Dragon coming up in 1 minute 20, that's going to be where they're going to save all of those ultimates for at this point. Now Woolite down in the bottom side of the map is going to be met by Cedrian on that Caitlyn. And Woolite does have the advantage, which is weird because you spoke about how Cedrian had the advantage normally. We looked at stats last week, and Woolite typically is down, on average. Woolite is up in this game. So Woolite is having a good game compared to his average game here. Cedrian is having a worse game compared to his average.
This is also a Corky game in which we saw him play 5 out of the 7 games when we last looked at it on Tristana.
Right.
So, yeah, looking to scale up as well. So, this change in terms of champions and adaptation by Woolite is definitely working out for sure. Against an AD carry, he's usually up. So, yeah, I like it a lot. He's also got the Trinity Force, so League of Item Spikes.
Not opting for Sorcerer's Boots, though.
No, wow, okay.
So,
Berserkers, yeah.
My assumption is he's probably, and this might go wrong, he's probably going to opt for non-rocket build, like with the Blade of the Ruin King, although that's going to give him a lot of attack speed. So opting less for fast respawn damage on rocket barrage. So, I mean, I'm wondering whether that will be his next pickup. He's against a Maokai, which is going to be quite tanky, and a Nautilus. So that's my assumption.
It's funny though, because usually, wouldn't you want that against a jungler who's also gone tank? Because we have 3 squishy targets here where rockets would be great. Mountain. Gonna do some waddling. He's gonna do some getting caught. Oh, flash over the wall. Getting out of the way of Dark Binding. But that may be enough for Denial to say, okay, let's pull the trigger on the dragon. Woolite coming out of these rockets. The rest of Maus are sitting behind Dragon Wall Z. And Cassiopeia coming in from the top side. Will be meeting her counterpart, gets him with the ultimate side, will have to immediately hit the cleanse, but immediately goes down instead. Teleport now coming in from Wicked, going to the top lane. So they don't even lose a tower for that trade of Dragon. Yeah,
and there was no opportunity in that one for Maus to set themselves up for a play with Maokai. Just the kill on Saya was far too quick in this setup. Kozku is now huge in this game, 3-0-0 overall. And Denial are in a great position. However, Binsu coming in from the side. Can he cut the rest of Denial off? No teleport available for Wicked, remember. He will not be able to join this fight.
Yeah, he has a Righteous Glory on Binsu, but actually decides to go back into the top lane. Maus do not look like they're looking for the fight, which is why Binsu's backing off. And likewise, Denial are quite happy with what they've gotten so far, so they'll just be backing away as well. Woolite is going to be split pushing. Needs to be careful on this one, not to push too far. The area is well warded though, I will give him that. So Sayo is waiting in the bush, comes in with the Death Laser, and does not connect it, so he'll just be taking this farm. So this one, Woolite will be getting away. Dan and Binsu trying to secure this blue buff. Kyrie is very close, but it doesn't look like he's interested in trying to steal.
No, neither is Wicked right now by the looks of things, so not looking to take that one. Wicked more concerned with the crab to get that vision on the top side of the map. Default spawn time for Baron is in 10 seconds, so we near that 20-minute mark as Maus clear their own jungle out. But Denial certainly have themselves a decent lead right now, 2,000 gold. And they have the coverage, great steal.
Gets it with the Dark Binding, the Glacier pace on that skill shot as well. The unseen Dark Binding will get the blue buff there from Dan. He's salty. He's going to be tossing out some salt spears. And he do not hit Wendelboe. He's out of there.
Kyrie is looking to set up more vision in the enemy jungle again, as we have seen that time and time again in this game. Denial focusing a lot on that topside jungle, just trying to take away as much as they can from Dan. And this is an interesting one because this is one of the first times we're seeing Dan not on a hard engage jungler. We're seeing him on a poke jungler. And I don't feel like he's having the same presence that Maus normally rely on from him. Kyrie over the wall.
Is Beansu caught, or is everyone around Beansu caught? At the moment, looks like Beansu. He's going to be blasted into the team, but there's a big ultimate from Victor. Tags Wendelbo, gets him with the spear as well. Give me that blue buff back. He's actually going to back away. Starts trying to recall. Don't do that when you're being chased down. Sejin in the bottom lane is taking this turret away, though. So should be able to get this regardless of what happens in the middle lane. 1 kill over to Denial in trade for the turret. That will not even even up the turrets. So it's 2 to 3 currently.
Do you even?
Do you even?
No, but you know who does even, and that's Denial at this point, because they are putting more focus as top lane. Everything in this game has been about the top side of the map for Denial, whereas the bottom side Maus have been focusing themselves, trying to split push. And again, this isn't the kind of composition we usually see out of Maus at all, whereas Denial, this is basically what they play every week. They play Engage coming from Wicked, they play CosQ on somebody that can deal damage to quite a few people at one time, and then between the bottom lane, we kind of expect Denial's bottom lane to at least go even on kills when it comes to it. This time they got a bit of a poke aspect coming from the Corki. That's slightly different, but generally Denial are playing the same game we've seen from them time and time again.
Yeah, the only real difference being Woolite on Corki over Tristana versus like late game versus like mid game power spikes and early stremps.
Right, and we actually did see one other Corki game from Woolite thus far this split, so we know he has played it before. Seems to be doing pretty decently on it for now, but Cedrian's taken over on the CS just because of the fact he's been on a side lane just split pushing.
Beansu is going to be rejoining his team. Sapling over the wall will not see Kyrie and Wendelbo. Now. Chase him down, get him Sapling. Get gotten. CosQ did go to his allies as well. Meanwhile, Wicked is split pushing in the top lane. Importantly, he just went into Mega Knot. Dragon is on the horizon in 1 minute 30, so now is not a good time for Denial to get engaged in the fight.
No, not at all. And Denial, they're looking to set up a fight, though. They have the numbers advantage. No, they don't. It's even. It's not even in the middle lane. They're a man down, but here comes Wicked from behind.
The ultimate in from Wendelbo will get the stun onto 3 players. Mountain will be getting chunked out, so will Dan, but Sayo and Sejin already hit the dust. Looking for the Maokai, chasing after the Mountain as well. We'll get him with the last auto into the Hyper. Gets Wicked the movement speed, comes in with the flash. Got him with the Frozen Mallet. He's going to be slowed. Beansu, does he have an ult? He has the flash. He's going to be trying to go for it. He gets it. The wallop doesn't land. And the Sapling will be finding another target. Looking for the Dark Binding. Doesn't really matter if he lands it or not, but it will be pride points.
It's all a distraction tactic because Denial are on the Baron. They good setup from Denial, recognizing that if they got caught, it was a problem. But if they can get the engage onto Maus and really just set up the fight how they want it, it's an easy fight for Denial to win at this point. They're so far ahead, and that's a turret and a Baron going over to the side of Denial. Look at this, CosQ now 5-0. This was all a very patient setup here. Flash in from Wendelbo. Nothing patient about that once they gave the signal to go. The numbers appeared a little bit faster for Denial from kind of all sides. A nice pincer movement coming out. And from there, it's very easy cleanup.
So the first auto attack that Wicked landed in that team fight was on the Maokai as he was retreating there. Like, his impact on that team fight was basically minimal, but likewise it was for Beansu as well. So it was essentially a 4-on-4 for a lot of that fight. So yeah, Denial just reading the situation, knowing they can end a team fight in less than 4 seconds, which is how long it takes to teleport. So yeah, very nice. That will net them the Baron. It will net them a large amount of map control. You can see where all the wards are situated. That is Maus' jungle. Wendelbo and Kyrie clearing out the wards, completely strangling them with vision. They spot another one on their way out. Woolite in the bottom lane here will be looking to push in. The question is, where is Denial going to push now? Bottom lane, tower could be a possibility. Wicked split pushing in the top lane. Does not have teleport now, though.
The thing is, the fact that 3 people just showed themselves bottom lane means that Denial can just get Dragon and look to pressure wherever they want. Wicked topside is going to push that in himself and probably get the turret. We know he did a little bit of damage to it earlier. Now the rest of Denial are probably going to go bottom lane. As soon as they spot the Maokai, and if they spot the Nidalee, that's going to be just a real signal that nothing can hold this wave. As Cedrian has to back away. Denial probably will continue to push. They know Nidalee is in the top side jungle doing blue buff right now. This is not the time to be doing your camps when your inhibitor tower is potentially under siege. Next minion wave is going to be the one that'll push Denial, and I think just about Dan will make it in time.
Yeah, now is not the time to use that stress at all. Dan should not be on that blue buff, should not be using that item. Beansu trying to clear out this minion wave, but he is a Maokai against Baron minions, so good luck with that. The Javelins doing basically nothing against these minions. Dinao are going to get some damage onto this turret. Warlike doesn't go in range to auto-attack the turret with his Sheen proc, though.
Yeah, it's just the fact that the Victor is just wave clearing so quickly. You can see Wicked already took it down the top side turret as well. So the wave clear now between the Caitlyn, between the Victor, is enough to deter the Denial lineup, but it is just a stalling tactic. As you said, the Maokai is going to struggle to take out the minions in the top side. And now Denial are trying to bait out a pick here from Mouse, trying to bait them in. The thing is, there's nothing on the bottom side jungle for Mouse to push out for, and that just gave the game away as Wendelbo steps on a trap. Mouse shouldn't even really be doing much more than putting wards down here and backing away.
Yeah, and that's what they're doing for now. Yeah, recall from Wendelbo is going to just be regrouping time for the team of Denial. Mouse Sports clearing out the waves as best they can. They still have their inhibitor turret line. It's incredibly important. As soon as that is broken, it becomes a lot easier to close out the game because the super minions start coming in. A lot more pressure comes out from Denial, but as long as they can keep this inner ring alive, they should be in good shape. However, if Mountain gets caught, they will be in less than good shape. Beansu heading into the top jungle here. But yeah, in terms of items, in terms of the strength of Mouse, they're not incredibly far behind. They are definitely behind, as we can see in the gold totals. Wicked, though, has a lot of auto attacks going down. I have a feeling what he's built going to be the wallop coming in with the house as well. For the auto attacks, should be enough damage. Beansu will eventually go down. He's not trying to run away. And eventually the Ventral Maelstrom will pop. And yep, that is a Hurricane, along with his Frozen Mallet.
Oh, it's time, Pulse.
It is. It is time.
He's about to rock us like a hurricane at this point. And honestly, now Nara's left unchecked top side. Middle, Denial just go super aggressive, get a flash themselves, and Wicked hops the wall.
Hops the wall, and he's going right onto Cedric, and Cedric returns with the damage. I mean, that is still a squishy Gnar, so he can do so. Warlike coming in with those auto attacks and the rockets as well. Javelin comes across, does not connect onto Denial, but they just went straight into that middle lane, took the inhibitor, took the inhib as well. And we were just talking about how once that ring is broken, it's going to be a lot easier to finish. Well, Denial just sliced through that base like, I was going to say like hot butter. That's not right.
hot butter doesn't slice anything, Pulse, okay? I don't know what
kind of knife through hot butter.
I don't know what crazy tactics you go for in the kitchen.
The art of war.
The art of cooking.
Oh yeah, wrong book. My whole life has been a lie.
Sun soup.
Good stuff.
Ah, dear. Hot butter with a cold knife.
Yep. Probably had the same effect, right?
There'd be no cutting involved in that one, more of scooping. But at this point, Denial are just scooping away the objectives from Mouse. They've taken down a turret, they've taken an inhibitor. Baron is probably next on the cards with the 145 spawn time on it. I imagine Denial, they're just going to put the vision down, try and bait somebody out, try and force Mouse out into their jungle and pick up a pick. Then the Baron becomes pretty much child's play at that point. Very difficult for Mouse to contend against. And the bottom side, you can see Wicked setting up the bottom lane to push in towards the base. He can't really slow push. That's kind of the problem with a Hurricane build. It's all or nothing.
I have to go into Mega Form if I want to slow push.
You have to just melee them down.
Yeah.
The thing is, how do you build Mega Form without
jungle camps?
Well, this is a very difficult predicament to try and slow push, but
and build to find all the wards.
Nevertheless, at this point, Denial are just in full control right now. There's not a lot that Mouse can do with their team composition. Caitlyn just hasn't had enough time to get into this game. Yeah. Only 2 items right now, a long way away from being particularly relevant here, and Denial know that.
The major threat on the team is still Sayo on Victor, but he has to land a 5-man ultimate and ask Denial very politely to stay in place for a couple minutes while he eats them. Kyrie gets the ultimate down and lands onto Sayo. Mountain's in the back line, but there's no one really there to help him, and he goes down very quickly. There's a big ultimate in from Sayo. Is it going to be enough? The laser is coming in, but Woolite's diving behind the turret. He doesn't care about your turret. Looking for the kill into Dan as well. Gets the double. Beansu being called out by Wicked. Wicked's going to wait for the hop. He's in fact just going to wait to auto, and Beansu's underneath his turret. But DNOW have broken the defenses of Mouse, and he may be closing in for the win here. 3 members down, make that 4 as Beansu falls as well to Wicked. And Woolite is looking for these towers with the rest of the team already there. And DNOW just makes short work of Mouse Sports in this game. They will be taking them down at 31 minutes into this one, making this week a 2-0.
Very convincing game once it opened up there for DNOW. They just took the Baron, took turrets, took fights, took everything away from Mouse, and that will lock DNOW into the 3rd place spot. Mouse will be locked in 4th place. Who do they face? That's the question we have to answer.
Yeah, we're going to find out in the next game, Stress. It all comes down into the last game, because that will change the fates of not only those teams, but also these teams as well, about who they're going to face in that playoff. So, yeah, that was a pretty cool game. We've actually seen a lot of those games over the last 2 days. Like today, yesterday, is like an advantage is taken, boom, everything gets taken from the opposing team. Just like objective, and the game's done.
Yeah, it's been difficult for teams to hold once they get behind past the 25-minute mark for certain. And there were a lot of things that kind of went right for DNOW in that setup, specifically some of the fights that we had. There was a mid lane fight, the 4-for-1 in mid, that led to the Baron for DNOW, just was so well worked out by DNOW. They were patient. They kind of just bided their time. Mouse pushed up for it is one of the biggest problems, and then from there they had the easy teleport spot. Woolite was just about close enough to get himself into the fight, and from there it's all on CosQ being so far ahead. You can see he already had his Archangels into Seraphs with the Abyssal Scepter, and just a very well-worked, clean fight by DNOW.
And not only that, CosQ we've seen from week to week has picked up a lot of Cassiopeia, but again, this was just another great game from him. He had a 10 KD on the Cassiopeia, and he just did everything that he needed to in that game. He stood there, he farmed up, he killed people. Got him.
Cassiopeia.
It's Cassiopeia,
You can see 604 on that Cassiopeia. Great performance out by CosQ. Not his first Cassiopeia of the split. Certainly, I don't think will be his last, unless it gets banned, which is very plausible going into playoffs.
Yeah, there was a long time where I thought either Cassiopeia is going to be banned or Woolite Tristan is going to be banned, but then Woolite just stopped playing it. So, I mean, yes, it didn't need to be banned out. But yeah, I feel like Cassiopeia needs to be something that teams consider as we head into playoffs for sure.
I agree. Maybe even the Gnar as well. I don't know. Is it more worthwhile than banning than the Aurelia? Because Gnar is, I would say Gnar is closer to the meta than the Aurelia.
But I think that build you can play around very easily, but teams haven't exploited it. Either way, we have one game to go. This is the important one. Stay tuned. We'll be back in 3.5. Welcome back to the final game of the round robin here at EUCS, and this is the big one, Stress. Gamers 2 up against Team Dignitas EU. If Gamers 2 win here, they will tie Dignitas EU and own the head-to-head, which means they will take away first place from Dig, despite the whole amazing split they've had. But first, let's get to the teams. On the blue team, trying to go full Fnatic, which has already been taken away from them, is Wonderwear in the top lane, Obvious in the jungle, Sencooks in the mid lane, and Kobe and Nisbet in bot lane AD carry, finishing up Dignitas EU. And something we have to hit before we get into this game, Stress, is Sencooks has just been straight up underperforming. In the first couple of weeks, great. Standard Sencooks, what we saw from spring. He had a great performance. You can see there, 10.39 KDA on all those assassin picks, the Azir's coming out, the Twisted Fates as well, great. But then we went later on into the split into week 4, the first game of week 5. He started playing these control mages, the meta shifted as well, played some Orianna, 2.9 KDA, and it was a big difference from what we saw at the very start. And the question is it a playstyle change with these control mages? Is it him playing stuff that people are telling them to? Is it a meta shift? Whatever it is, it's not working.
I feel like it's a mix of issues for why we're not quite seeing the same Sencooks as we did in the first few weeks. I think meta issues is one of them. A couple of different changes in mid lane. We know that Sencooks likes champions he can kind of solo carry on, which still there is the potential for that. But certainly, I feel like it's extenuating circumstances. You look at the events that the Team Dignitas EU team have been to. They have lost out on their coach for a little bit as well now, with Broken Shard going over to North America to help with the North American Team Dignitas lineup. So I don't think it's like a major problem right now, but it certainly is something he has to fix and the team has to fix coming into this week.
I mean, it's manifesting into a major problem, so yeah, should try and nip it in the bud as soon as possible. But seeing red, it's Gamers 2. Smitty J in the top lane, Kickus in the jungle, replacing Maxlaw, coming in from the Unicorns of Love. Perks in the mid lane with Jesse and Hybrid, all the usual suspects coming in here. And the biggest thing we've got to talk about, Stress, is Kickus coming in from the Unicorns of Love. He was a huge part of the team's consistency, even though they didn't have any consistency, but it was a team who was not able to do so, and maybe Kickus can do that on other teams.
It's an interesting one because certainly, as you said, Gamers 2 were trying to bring in consistency with Hybrid, with the first Maxlaw coming in now. Now Kickus coming in instead. So can they bring Gamers 2 for one of the very first times up to the #1 spot in Challenger, which they really haven't been at before?
Yeah, that is the big question. But we do need to dial in on the man Kickus and also his opponent Obvious in this one, as Kickus was that backbone of UOL. He's now exited that team, now into this team. Can he mold this team into a strong contender, even maybe for the LCS, and get the auto promotion?
That's a big question because I took a look back at how Kickus performed on the LCS stage in the summer split. And honestly, in the summer split, the stats for Kickus don't really show him as anything much more than a mid-tier LCS jungler. You know, he had an okay KDA, just under 4, decent kill participation, but never really seemed to have the amazing games that we saw from the Shaco, from the Udyr that we saw in Spring Split. So it was just underlying issues in Unicorns of Love, and we know that there were issues in the Unicorns of Love with shot calling from how Kickus has kind of talked about since he left. He put the post up on Facebook when he announced that he left, and he said 2 very important things. He said, firstly, we did not have a designated shot caller in the Unicorns. And the second important thing, a little bit further down in that letter, was that he didn't feel like he could show his fans what he was capable of with the Unicorns of Love. So now let's see if he can show fans what he's capable of in Gamers 2.
Yeah, let's see if he can, Stress. To his opponent, Obvious, though, he was this solid addition to Team Dignitas EU. When there was a big overhaul of the team at the very start of the split, he was just a great addition. Turns up every week, never seen a problem with Obvious. Bot lane's done well, top lane's done well, and Sencooks has shined, apart from the last couple of weeks. But Obvious has been this like stone on the team, which has always been there.
For sure, he's been so well-rounded for the team. He facilitated the carries, he had a decent read on the early game, and generally his shot calling was a lot better, or the team's shot calling, which I imagine was spearheaded by him, was a lot better than other challenger junglers and challenger teams. However, the big question for me is, what can a supposed mid-tier LCS jungler do against the top CS jungler when the stats are so different? Yes, one is CS stats, one is LCS stats, but I think this is where we kind of want to draw the comparison is 10.4 KDA for Obvious, just under 70% kill participation. How will those stats be affected now with games against a former Unicorns of Love player. Remember, Kikis was second place in Spring Split with the Unicorns of Love. This is a big, big test for both of these junglers.
Yeah, it's a big change. And also, is he going to make the same impact? Because we've seen a lot of LCS players come into CS and not make a big impact. Or maybe they have made a big impact, but negatively. So we'll see if Kickers can make a big positive impact. And yesterday, he certainly did. He was playing Lee Sin, and we just saw an instant change from Gamers 2 as we went into this one.
We did. You can see the Kikis, Lee Sin on that one. Perks got himself the victor at this point. Just everything in this game seemed to be set up for Gamers 2 to be more aggressive than Dignitas. Look at Team Dignitas. They really were just waiting on getting to later into the game. And Gamers 2 played that out exactly how you would expect in the opening, because there was an instant change for the Gamers 2 opening. Look at this max range hook coming in. Obvious gets pulled in. That is first blood going over to Kikis. And from that first blood, he grabs himself a brutalizer and pressures out Obvious for the first 15 minutes of this game.
Anxious shouldn't even work like that. But he gets a smooth slide through Senkooks' ultimate. And Senkooks' performance this game on Orianna was just kind of meh. He just didn't do a whole lot. The fights were very messy. And he didn't clean up those fights by landing good shockwaves. He just landed on 1 or 2 people.
Yeah, Dig looked uncoordinated in these fights is one of the things. Is you can see just going in at different times, just never really being on the same page, even though they were getting a couple of kills. The game was fairly even up until a little bit later on in this game. You can see, again, this is another example of Team Dignitas just kind of sticking around under a tower a little bit too long. But the fairly even game blew wide open at 22 minutes. And at this point, it's Perks' Victor ult that does it.
Yeah, huge Victor ult to put himself 4-0-4. And look at this fight, how clean it was. Kicker's going to go down? Nope, he's good to go. Look at all those shields. And this opened the way to take an inhibitor, 2 towers, and onto the Baron.
Yeah, onto the Baron indeed. And here comes the decision-making being upset by Team Dignitas, or at least their own. First Wonderware teleports in on his own, randomly into the fight and goes, hey guys, I can do this. Senkooks flashes forward. He kills Kikis is the important thing, but the rest of his team is not there to follow up. Jesse picks up the Baron, and again, it's 1 after 1. Filtering into the fight, and you know, honestly, from there it's an easy setup. Nice little E over the wall into the trap and the Q from Jesse to close that game out.
Style points netted. But yeah, that side that you just had basically describes that game from Dignitas. It was just not the Dignitas we've been seeing, very sloppy. And we had to look at the kickers, because Lee Sin, great play, 4-2-9. Went for that early brutalizer and straight up bullied Obvious. That's not something we have ever seen before from any other challenger jungler. And then Perks as well. Just another great game.
Yeah, it really was just a great game from Perks. We've seen time and time again just how well he can play. And honestly, this reminds me of, you know, the beginning of when we started watching Team Dignitas EU in Summer Split. It was Perks now has a jungler that is going to facilitate him well. Just like Senkooks still does have, but doesn't seem to be utilizing all that well in the last couple of weeks.
Well, if Obvious is taken out of the game by Kickers, then he has no one to support him, and you can see that right here again. Senkooks' 3rd game in a row, just not super good, 2-3-5 on that Orianna, and we need to see Senkooks pick up speed again, because at least if they win or lose here, okay, it's going to upset the seedings, but for playoffs for sure, Senkooks has to pick it up, because if he doesn't, then I mean, playoff chances are going to plummet.
Yeah, he really does. And honestly, I feel like it's just a weird kind of time watching Team Dignitas the last week or so. They just have not looked on top form.
And as you said, it could be a multitude of factors. We're going to see how this Champions Select goes for them. Jace will be their first ban aimed at Perks. Makes sense. Had some great performances from the Jace on Perks. Rek'Sai will be the next ban. That'll be aimed at Obvious. That takes one of the tier 1 junglers off the table. Nidalee will be the other prime pick in the jungle. Gragas is still open for these guys. Fresh will be the next ban against Nisbet. Nisbet has landed some insane hooks through the course of the round robin so far. And Callista will be the final ban from Dig.
It will be. We've just been rounded out with a Sivir ban.
Add me.
Add me, indeed. Sivir ban is the last one to come through. So, where does that leave us? Corki is available. Neither AD... I guess Jesse's kind of a Corki player. A little bit. Is it first pick Gragas here from Team Dignitas? Now that Nidalee's not available, Rek'Sai is not available, it will put Gamers 2 onto a 2nd tier. Ryze is also available. First time, actually, in a very long time, other than that game yesterday that keeps tripping me up, that Ryze is up. As Yeah, not many games that he's been available to pick. Whoa!
Hey, there he is.
There he is.
Yeah, so Gragas will be that first jungler picked up by Wonderwear, making sure the Dignitas have that on their side. Instant response of Ryze. It was like, if Gragas is taken away, we're going to take Ryze. And then the Nautilus as well as the Flex. 2 more fast pickups of Morgana and the Victor. Victor will be going on to Senkux, obviously. Again, we're seeing a Victor in the 3rd rotation in Champion Select. So, yeah, again, picking that early on.
Going back to Spring Split's joke. Senkux being a Victor one-trick.
Oh, yeah.
So, we know it's a comfortable champion for it. This matchup, in theory, should be straightforward for him, but he has to contend with what is up. With Cassiopeia that we just saw Koski play, Azir is available, which we know Perks can play.
Yeah.
Varus is up. That's the matchup we see all the time in the EU LCS, because Azir is typically banned, and Azir is not banned in this game, and he is getting picked.
The Emperor will make his way onto the Rift here, so that will be picked up by Perks. Next pick will be Caitlyn. Again, we're seeing that into the bottom lane for Jesse here. Yeah, as you mentioned, Senkux, he was known as a bit of an ongoing joke, was that he was the one trick on Victor. Then Victor was disabled, and then he had to go elsewhere, and then showed he was great on every champion. So, yeah.
So, what is the AD carry of choice here? Kalista Sivir banned away. Corki not the best pick into Caitlyn because of the range disadvantage. Then again, most champions you pick here are going to be at a range disadvantage.
Unless you go Annie AD carry, and that's still got nerfed.
Okay, so. let's be real. This is a game for first place, Pulse. this is
well, yes,
the
but
game.
you're saying what can be picked into Caitlyn that matches range? Cog more than the other one, but only for a certain amount of seconds.
Cubby is a Jinx player. That would make sense. Swap over to the Rockets as well. Gives you that bit extra
Cubby
range
is
for
also
himself.
a Cog player, but yeah.
And a top laner here. Who do you pick top into Ryze? Karma.
Or Morg.
Okay. No, that you no. I mean, we've seen Morgana top lane.
Yes.
Karma.
I've not seen Karma in top lane for a long time, and also the base damage has got changed. She got turned into more of a support.
True.
Does she work in that scenario
her
anymore?
Damage got
I don't think so.
shredded on her Q.
I think it's going to be Morgana.
That's a Rengar. That's a Rengar as well.
That's also Kikis on a Rengar.
I am trying to think. Have we seen Gigas on Rengar? I feel like maybe one game, like in Spring Split or early Summer Split. But Rengar typically it has not found success in a while outside of Korea. Still doesn't find much success in Korea even these days.
Yeah.
So it's such like a difficult jungler to get rolling because you're relying on landing the bolus, landing just the crowd control. However, one thing that they will have fairly strong is between Ryze and Rengar. That's a lot of single target crowd control that's coming out. So who knows? Man, I've not seen Gigas on Rengar. He wanted to try different things. He wanted to have his own way in the team. That's why he left Unicorns. He's just Rengar.
Yeah, it was funny. We were talking in the break as well. Will Kickers bring over some of the things that he's acquired from Unicorns, which is these funky picks, throws people off guard, but is played exceptionally well. So he knows exactly how the pick can work and how it fits into a composition. Will the Rengar be the same?
Lee Sin was up and he didn't opt for it into the Gragas, which was the matchup he had yesterday.
Yeah.
And did very well with. So that's an interesting one that he didn't choose to go for that one. But I think the most interesting thing is Karma. A lot of her damage got gutted a couple of patches back when they took the damage off her Q. So I'm interested to see how that goes. But one thing is for certain, this team composition is going to be able to utilize the movement speed that's going to come from Karma when she mantras her E. Get yourself moving pretty quickly in this setup. With the Jinx, be able to push down towers. Poke going to come from Karma as well. The other side of the Rift, as we said, single target crowd control coming out from Rengar Ryze. Then you've got Azir and Caitlyn for tower pushing. Going to be difficult to deal with. If one member of Team Dignitas dies, towers are going to fall very quickly after.
They are indeed. Well, that's a lot of interesting things in this game, and I think that's going to change your votes. So I'm about to ask for them. Tweet at LOL eSports. Get on Twitter. Use those hashtags DEUWin or G2Win, or even just use the hashtag EUCS and talk about this game, because there is a lot going on, and this means a lot for both these teams and also the teams below them. So there's a lot on the line for these teams.
So the winner of this game will be playing against Mouse in the playoffs. The loser will have to face Wicked and the rest of the Denial lineup.
Okay, on to the Rift. Gamers 2 on the red side. Team Dignitas EU on the blue. Heading out of base. Will they go for an aggressive early game play? We'll see as they fan out. Wonderwear on this Karma. Now, as you mentioned a couple patches ago, Karma's damage did get reduced because Q would hit you and you would lose most of your health.
Yeah, it was really annoying.
Yeah, not great. We used to see it a bit in the mid lane. We saw it before that a bit in the jungle. Then we saw it in support. Kind of being all over the place. In the top lane ages ago, before her rework, we saw her in the top lane. But we haven't seen her there since. And it was great into melee matchups because of the tether, because she could lock people down. But how would it do against the Ryze?
Honestly, I mean, Karma doesn't have anything like a silence, so it's not like you can really lock down Ryze with regards to his ability rotation later into the game. One thing that maybe I can see from it is because Ryze wants to stick on you, you would be able to put down focused resolve. And once you've got a couple of points in that, the duration may just about be long enough to outlast the Ryze and run away. I don't know. I haven't seen this matchup particularly, but that's my estimation is you just pop the focused resolve, Q backwards, and mantra E yourself out of there. And if he wants to chase you, he's getting stunned.
At max rank, focused resolve will outroot Ryze.
Right.
Because Ryze was nerfed. It's no longer 2 seconds. It's like 1.7 now.
Yeah.
So that would work.
That's what I think is probably the reasoning for this one. I know that Team Dignitas have been working on a lot of picks with regards to how to play against certain meta champions. I know that one of the things we actually saw at DreamHack Valencia was Senkux actually played 2 games of Azir into Sivir. Not Azir, sorry. Anivia. That's a very different champion. He played 2 games of Anivia in the finals against Kick. So I know they're working on a lot of these strats right now and have been actually fairly vocal on it. So this might be one that Wonderwear has been kind of sitting on. Because obviously to not ban Ryze and not first pick it is a fairly big statement that Team Dignitas are making for themselves.
I very want to know. I very much want to know what Wonderwear Max is in this game. Because Focus Resolve has W, which is the snare. And hold that thought for a second. Hybrid does get locked down in the bottom lane. Kobe will put down some damage, but so will Jesse. Piltover goes wide. But it does outrange basically everything that Ryze has on an on-click by 75 units, which is 3/4 of a teamer, if you can think about that. So she does outrange him with lock. And has the longer tether. So it seems like a good matchup on paper.
On paper, and as you said, I'm wondering where he does end up maxing. Remember that Ryze now has to max Q to get the duration of Arcane Mastery up. So it's not like you have to max the W to begin with Wonderwear. I'm assuming you just kind of go equal, maxing Q and W in the same pace that Ryze will. That's my estimation for what Wonderwear is likely to do, but again, we'll track it. He has put a second point into his Q, no points yet in his shield.
Yeah. See if we can connect those soul flares as well. That is, of course, the mantra version of Inner Flare. The hook comes across, very close to Kabi. Does not juke that Piltover this time. Bot lane, we spent a lot of time top lane. Remember, mid lane and bot lane are also a thing. Senkux is on his Victor once again, up against the Azir here. Perks has had a lot of play on Azir. Senkux has had a lot of play on Victor and Azir. Kickers has taken away this crab. Going for this conservative early start, getting that vision down. He'll be going for the recall. There's another hook, not quite connecting from Hybrid. Obvious, heading into this middle lane. He has double buffs. He's looking for Perks. Def Laser, Def Ray lands onto Perks. Not quite in range for the body slam, or the body slam flash. So Obvious will be moving away from here. This is a lot less is happening in this early game than we saw yesterday. That was very nice by Nisbet, actually, throwing the Dark Binding towards Jesse while he was looking for Hybrid.
Yeah, just making sure that if Jesse had stepped forward, he'd been able to catch him. Interesting kick is yesterday went for the Brutalizer, opted for the double longswords, and forces Obvious to body slam over the wall. Hasn't opted for his jungle upgrade. This is something, as we said, he did yesterday after getting the first blood. Couldn't afford the Brutalizer straight up this time.
Kickers, I only play champions that can go Brutalizer first.
Well, I mean, that's not going to work out too well in the meta overall, since Brunglaive Nidalee is one of the queens of the jungle, and then it's Cinderhulk from there. But we'll see if we can get the Rengar to actually work for him, because that's one of the biggest problems Rengar has, is you start building damage and then you have to build tank, unless you want to be squishy and try and just one-shot people for the entire game. Doesn't really have enough tankiness on the rest of his team to actually be able to do that, though.
Funny enough, in the article of Vines and Felines, over in North America, when the Rengar was played, they were saying essentially you either go all in on one or the other. You go all in on damage, you go all in on tank, because otherwise you do neither.
Perks is going all in, though.
He is, and obviously will be going all out, but he gets bowlered down and locked in place. Sencook's returning the damage. Doesn't have a whole lot in this game as Victor. Jesse going forwards through the Flame Chompers, will be netting back through the minion line as well. A lot of damage onto Kobe. And Nisbet will be trying to get those autos down as well to return fire. Just lots of trades in the bottom lane, but not a whole lot has been burnt.
A lot of damage all across the board around the map in this one so far, but no kills. Kikis is looking for one on Obvious. Oh, did not find him.
The last 0.1 of the recall.
I was going to say, it's the last 0.1 of the recall. It got normalized from between half a second and a quarter of a second to being the very, very, very last 0.1. So Kikis getting a little unlucky that wasn't a split second earlier. I don't think he'll be able to set up a gank in this bottom lane unless they really land some hard crowd control. But Nisbeth will have the Black Shield as well, so not like any of the crowd control is really going to stick without Team Dignitas messing that one up.
At least now you know exactly how much you missed by, which is nice. But Obvious in the top lane. He's looking for his gank to come in as Wonderwear has pushed up the wave. Level 6, of course. We'll be putting that second point in Mantra. Has been maxing the Soul Flare.
So, does Smitty J now read that there's a gank coming, though? Kikis certainly does, by the way he's positioned. There's a pink ward in the river as well. So, now it's, does he face check the bush? And yes, he does. Smitty J face checks.
Getting the root down. He will be flashing away. Wonderwear, doesn't he have any more damage to offer? Obvious thinks about the tower dive, thinks better of it. There was Kikis just around the corner, just in case he needs to go for it. Bottom lane, Nisbet was trying to freeze, but Hybrid makes sure he doesn't get that down. Obvious will take this opportunity to clear out this pink ward. Kikis, I don't think you can really interrupt him. He's going to get this pink. He's going to come in with the bowler, but Obvious is already over the wall, and there's nothing for Kikis to get. So now they just know his position, and Kikis didn't get anything from that. Right,
but at this point, Kikis hasn't really got all that much when it comes to actually objectives and any kind of kills and assists. We are at a 0-0 game so far. So Kikis' early game impact has been a lot lower than yesterday, and he wants to change that with an attempted boo buff seal. You can actually see Nautilus and Perks coming across here. Wonderwear's come down from the top side, but so has Rise. This could be a 4 versus 3 setup here.
Smart.
Nobody has moved from Dig.
Obvious trying to get away here. Hybrid is there to lock him down, and he will be leaping after him with the Rengar. Wonderwear trying to get back to this turret, but the order is given, and he gets taken out by Perks.
That was a really weird setup from Team Dignitas with regards to nobody moving. Okay, you don't expect Nisbeth to go with that, but Sencook's in the middle lane had been shoved in, and he had to clear the wave, or at least in his mind he had to clear it before he moved across. So they knew the numbers were always going to be on Gamers 2's side, and they end up 2-0 from it.
Yeah, Nisbeth now roaming down, roaming down into the bottom side of the map. We'll be going through this. Has been tagged out by that ward, so Gamers 2 at least have the knowledge of that as he's roaming. But yeah, that was incredibly well worked out from Gamers 2. Again, the early game advantage, something we haven't historically seen from Gamers 2. Nisbet aggressing in the bottom lane, something we have historically seen from Nisbet, generally getting those advantages just by himself in that bottom lane on those supports. Sencook's in this mid lane does have that slight CS advantage over Perks. In terms of raw mechanics, I definitely would rate Sencook's a little higher, but Perks has been way more consistent, I feel, over the split for sure. So Kikis now taking his jungle. Has gone for the Worry enchant, so got that Brutalizer, picked that one up. And Hybrid is now pushing in the bottom lane. So a lot of passivity at the moment with those 2 kills going over to Gamers 2. And obviously just making sure the jungle is good to go. Perks. The
Shurima Drift.
Yeah. The order is given. Would you like fries with that? Oh, Kikis heading into the top lane. Has his ultimate. There's the exclamation mark. He finds Wonderwear. Gets a lockdown as well with the bowler. Gets CC'd for days. You are not going anywhere, Wonderwear. Looking for the extra heal. He will get it from the Mantra. But Smitty J gets the kill regardless with Q.
Yeah, tried to get the focused resolve with that Mantra bonus of the healing, but it just was not enough. Wonderwear right now, he has a Haunting, guys, so he does have that little bit of extra health, but honestly right then, couldn't quite read the Rengar coming to his lane until it was far too late. And this Rengar pick is starting to work out for Kikis. Big engaged bottom lane.
Oh, Jesse got caught in the Flame Chompers, but it is quickly turned around onto Nisbet as the ultimate landed from Hybrid.
Perks is coming down, though, and Kikis is in tow. This is very problematic for Team Dignitas here. Nisbeth caught out.
Looking to pick up the kill here, looking for the Conquering Sands as well. Already used it. The flash into the dredge line, onto Nisbet, in with the soldiers as well, and takes him out. Get poked. And we'll be getting that extra kill. 4-0, Gamers 2 in 10 minutes.
And is this the Gamers 2 that we've been told about for so long? The Gamers 2 that want to compete at the top end of the Challenger Series. Remember, this previous to this week, Senkooks, what are you doing?
Well, he's going to try and blow up Perks, and he actually has a lot of damage. Gets the stun down with the gravity field, but that's a Rise coming in from the top side. Senkooks, he'll get the slight shield from the power transfer, but Wonderware's in the fight as well. He gets him with the inner flame, and will be trying to get out of this fight. Hits with the bowler from Kickers as he's just in the bush. There's always a Rengar in the bush. He gets the minion, trying to kill that minion, trying to kill Wonderware. Doesn't quite get him. Trying to get away here with the renewal.
This should be Tower and Dragon coming from this for Gamers 2. Gamers 2 have a massive lead already. We're 11 minutes in, 18,600 gold to 14,600. Gamers 2 are destroying Dignitas very early on.
We have seen this before from Dig, where they fall behind early and they do catch up in the macro game later, but if they fall so far behind with Gamers 2 take everything away from them, it's not really going to matter. Gamers 2 now take this first dragon of the game. That'll be back up in 6 minutes. And with that large CS advantage, large gold advantage, large kill, tower, and dragon advantage, Gamers 2 are ticking all of the boxes.
And the problem for Team Dignitas right now is this composition for them relies so much on Cobby being the main focus for this team. That's what the disengage is for. That's also what the Karma is going to bring with this, the shielding, the added mobility. But Team Dignitas need so much more time to bring Cobby into this game. Look at how far behind he is in CS alone. 110 CS to 80, 12 minutes into the game, and this was a matchup that that Team Dignitas picked themselves. The Caitlyn was even the first pick in this matchup. Pick number 4 for Gamers 2.
Choose one of the bushes, you lose every time. Wonderware's there, he gets him, and he is locked down. He's going to have to stand there and try and get the damage on. Obvious, that was almost very close with the crit and the headshot. And meanwhile, Hybrid was there as well. Hybrid actually finds Nisbet. Nisbet actually has found Hybrid. Mid lane though, we did see a kill onto Senkooks while that was all happening. Senkooks was a straight call out. I think we're going to see that right now.
Yeah, he's 0-2-1 though at the same time. It's again, Kickers just getting in there.
Yeah.
A little bit of a overkill with the Conquering Sands, but you know, it gets the job done.
Shurima is eternal. Shurima is a turtle.
Mid turrets going down. I think that is the key thing at hand right now, as Perks is looking to push it down. A couple more hits on it, and that will be it. But, I mean, where did Team Dignitas go from here in this setup? Senkooks doesn't even have a completed item. He's just got the upgrade on their Hex Core. The first upgrade as well. That's a Hex Core Mark 1. Now they've got to contend with the Sun Disc for about a minute or so, just sitting here in this middle lane, shoving them in constantly. Top tower should be the next focus. You can see Jesse is already up there. That's a fairly straightforward objective to take, and with no dragon on the map, I actually think inner turrets are really going to be difficult for Team Dignitas to hold. We talked about how between the Azir, between the Caitlyn, one person dies and the turret goes down. That is going to continue to happen now in favor of Gamers 2.
Clearing off this top wave as well. Kickers, while that was happening, took away another blue buff away from Obvious. That was the second of the game he'd taken away. Jesse farming up this top wave has now swapped up there with Hybrid. There's 2v2 with Nisbet coming in. Cobby is staying in the bot lane, probably most likely freezing from the looks of it. Trying to get as much farm as possible, catch up to Jesse, and just try and stall this out into later into the game. Because in terms of scaling, they're in pretty good shape. They have the Victor, great.
Right.
Jinx, Karma, not entirely sure how she fits in this role. I would assume okay. Her scaling is a lot from her different skills.
Second point is in W4, but here comes Rise into the middle lane.
Oh, Senkooks, he has to burn the flash, and no matter how this turns out, he drops low. He has to Death Ray lands onto Perks, but oh, Rocket from the bottom lane barely scratches him in the middle lane. Or goes right past Azir, rather. Does Azir have ears? I'm not entirely sure. Jesse almost getting CC'd up there by the Karma. And now here comes Kickers again. Can he get some more value out of his ultimate? He's running after Wonderware. He does get the ultimate down, comes in with the dredge line. Nisbet is there to block it though with the black shield. And every single one of the ultimates from Kickers has countered. He's made something happen every single time. Nisbet flash forwards into the Soul Shackles, is locking them down. Wonderwear and the rest of the team is in tow. Gets the CC onto Hybrid as well. That was perfect CC layering from Dig.
Yeah, very well done. Overzealous from Hybrid as well. G2 still will look to push this turret down, but quite honestly, Smitty J on the bottom side of the map is looking to push things in as well. I don't know who can actually deal with him right now, apart from maybe Cobby from a distance, as Wonderwear will be going down there himself. But G2 are relentless for this top side tower. Ace in the hole comes out. It's going to be enough to force them back. Teleport's actually coming in from Smitty J. He's looking for the engage right onto the Flame Chompers.
Oh, Perks from the mid lane, though, maybe caught out by Obvious. He'll blast him away with the soldiers there, but Obvious has also been locked down. Senkook's now coming in from the middle lane, looking for the power transfer. Lands onto Perks. Not quite enough. Smitty J trying to get away, but not before he's caught in the gravity field. Now Cobby is trying to chase after. He gets the first kill and the passive, getting excited. Now chasing on to Jesse as well. This Storm is following him down. There comes the ultimate. Who's it going for? Off the map. But it may be hitting some random Yordle off in Rune Terror. Comes in for the power transfer. Senkook gets him with the auto. That's a dead rise.
It is a dead rise. And this, I think, stems back to G2 with their consistency point when it comes to bringing the jungler in. I actually managed to speak with Kickers yesterday after their game and talk about how the team is kind of feeling and sitting, and we were talking about shot calling and who it is that's doing the shot calling, because that was the big problem with the Unicorns of Love. The plays that G2 have made, like that where they're overzealous, have not been involving Kickis. Kickis was not really around for the beginning of that fight. It was the teleport coming from Smitty J. So I wonder how much control Kickis is having over the shot calling in all situations, or whether that's decisions being made by other players. It's a very interesting one that unfortunately we won't find out the answer to, but certainly seems to be a little bit of a trend thus far in this game. However, Gamers 2 still have had pretty good shot calling throughout the entire thing.
Only the positives were my shot.
Well, no, I'm not. That's not what I'm going to do. I'm not going to attribute the positives to Kickers and the negatives to everybody else. It's more of a question of, is that like a factor at all? But speaking of positives, in comes Senkook and lands a lot of damage. He really has started to open up from this fight. Did manage to get himself a couple of kills here, as you can see Jesse, too low mana, too low health to get himself away. And yes, the Jinx ult doesn't quite hit on Perks, but Senkook knew his target and knew he could chase him down. There we go.
Get booped.
Pops him.
Pops him. Fast on the draw. Senkook's angered the beast. He's trying to come back into this game now. 2-2-2. That's a good start. Obvious gets Perks with the ultimate. Again, the Emperor's Divide comes out, and he actually jumps into Obvious as well, gets the CC, and the Sun Disc. Oh, another Conquering Sands comes out just as the Anchor Toss comes in from Hybrid, and it is enough to take him out. Never dive a Sun Disc. It does a lot of damage.
It does. I mean, I'm not too sure what Obvious actually was doing in that situation. He had the rest of his team around him, but nobody reacted to it.
No.
It looked like the call was made and just nobody really wanted to go in. And it's going to end up with another Dragon going over to Gamers 2. That's the second now of the game. They're up in Dragons, they're up in Towers. They're just up in basically every metric. A little bit of farm in mid lane is the only real advantage Team Dignitas has. And even with that, look, Perks is 4-1-3. So the actual gold is still in Gamers 2's favor.
Yeah, Senkook is going to be tanking that ace in the hole. This mid tower should be falling. His minions are dying quickly, but yeah, one more auto. There we go. 5 and 9 in terms of kills. Big gold advantage. It's now 18 minutes into this game, getting to that 20-minute mark. And the 3 towers have gone over to Gamers 2. This is definitely a very different Gamers 2 from what we've seen so far. And we asked the question before, like, how is a mid-tier jungler from the LCS going to play up against a upper-tier jungler from the CS? And right now, pretty well.
Yeah, pretty well. And this is the second game in a row. Out of the 2 games we have as a sample size, I don't want to say it's to be expected, because there's a lot of weight that falls on the shoulders of junglers, and certainly Team Dignitas you'd expect would have overall better synergy than G2, but certainly Kickis in these 2 games has been causing a multitude of problems for Obvious. Both games, Kickis has really just stopped Obvious from having any impact on the game at all. I mean, think of yesterday's game. It was still fairly close at this point. Then G2 went and take the Baron. then they take inhibs, then more turrets and close the game. It was within about 7 minutes of taking the Baron at about that 27, 28, 29 minute mark. We're on track for possibly that again, but maybe even faster from Gamers 2. The fact that they have a bigger lead now than they did in yesterday's games, and a lot of it has been the fact that between Kikis and Perks and SmittyJ just kind of holding his own, they've been able to just completely outplay Team Dignitas when it came to the laning phase and their map movements.
Yeah, Dig do have a decent amount of wave clear here though. With the Jinx, the Victor, even Wonderwear with the Soul Flare, like that's a lot of wave clear. So unless they get picks beforehand, which they have been getting, maybe a little difficult to siege unless they get massively ahead. Alternatively, they can just play around dragons as they have 2 already. And Dig and a head-on confrontation, I don't think will come out on top unless they get the outnumber and a good setup to the fight. Perks and Hybrid here, just trying to push in, get some vision. Set up for the control around the dragon in terms of those wards. Bottom lane, whoa, that's a big CS differential.
Yeah.
194 over to 138. We even saw Cobby solo farming in the lane for a long time, and he still hasn't caught up.
Yeah, I mean, Jesse has been split pushing himself, or at least just sitting over in a side lane, pushing down turrets. So while you know, Team Dignitas have built this composition around Cobby, they haven't got the gold onto him. He is 1,600 gold down in his lane matchup, and they need Jinx to be more impactful in this game before Caitlyn. Caitlyn has a later game spike than you expect a Jinx to have, really. But Jinx becoming more potent earlier and staying relevant for the rest of the game should be problematic for Gamers 2. However, the itemization on Jinx right now is behind, and it's not going to be enough. However, Perks has been caught out. There's Senkok's going in.
Yeah, one thing you can rely on is Nisbet landing fantastic Dark Bindings, and the Storm is still chasing Perks down. He flashes after, he gets the power transfer, but he should be going down. He actually gets the stun down onto 2 players. One of the was there to assist him, but the shutdown comes in from Kickers. He gets the damage out himself, jumps onto Wonderwear as he's still in range of the bunch. Jesse now coming into the fight with the net in aggressively. Ultimate comes through, blocked out by Nisbet. Does Hybrid have the dredge line? He does not. Does not decide to go for it. That's a 1-for-2 trade in favor of Gamers 2.
Team Dignitas do not have the health to take these fights. Obvious was forced onto a very early Sightstone before he even finished Cinderhulk, so he only has that Cinderhulk completed. Nisbet will Black Shield the rest of the hook coming from Hybrid, but Gamers 2 just are so far away ahead when it comes to their damage that Team Dignitas just can't sit in these fights. And it doesn't really help that Senkok's is making plays where he's flashing forward. Yes, he's getting kills, but if he is dead, that is so much of the damage that is not there for Team Dignitas that it's just easy for G2 to clean up these fights.
It's like the anti-Ryu scenario where you eliminate the enemy carry, but they still have more, and the other carries are better than your carries at the moment. And SmittyJ, you can see how much damage he's dealing.
Yeah.
A lot.
A lot.
Also in that top lane, again, you can see the CS differential. 60 farm when Wonderwear had the advantage in the laning phase. That's a long time since then, and Wonderwear has been getting not a lot of the farm. I don't even think it was like farm allocation either, because we've seen a lot of the players in like a 1-3-1 setup. So it's not been like they've been in the group and it's like, okay, this guy gets it, this guy gets it. It's just simply because SmittyJ has been accumulating more farm and zoning Wonderwear away.
Yeah, it has been, and Wonderwear even got ganked early on as well, didn't survive the ganks coming from Kikis, and that's kind of, in the games where Team Dignitas have fallen behind, it's kind of been one of their biggest problems, is if Wonderwear doesn't survive the ganks, which tends to be the case, it's difficult for him to get back in the game, and a fight like this is not going to help. This is the numbers, while yes, they're in favor of Gamers 2, of Team Dignitas, Gamers 2 were already backing away from this. Yes, they don't have flashes available to really get themselves out fast, but G2 were already just on the way out. There was no real way of Team Dignitas catching them, and now the Gragas ult is down.
Oof, that's a lot of damage from Overload. But Nisbet's always going to land that Dark Binding. SmittyJ will have to stand still for a couple seconds. Here's their third dragon. Dignitas are not going to contest. probably the smartest decision right now. But 6 minutes of time, they're going to have to start contesting these dragons.
Right.
They can't just sit there and do nothing.
They can't let the next one go. If you put Gamers 2 while this far ahead onto the tipping point where it's only a further 6 minutes, and that's basically game, they already have enough damage as it is. They don't need extra damage with the aspect of the Dragon buff, but they did just pick up extra mobility with that movement speed buff that comes from the third Dragon. So now it's even harder for Team Dignitas to disengage. I nearly said Team Disengage then. But that's kind of what they've got. They've got the Gragas, they've got the Karma to run away. But this Karma pick honestly hasn't worked.
No, he's built the Liandry's, he's built the Pen, and if you're building a Liandry's with this type of champion, you're expecting poke. You're expecting just to poke your opponents down, whittle them down with the Liandry's. But we haven't seen that at all. We've never seen Dignitas group and disengage and poke and disengage.
Right, we've never got to that point. And the other factor is, you know, we asked how is Wonderware building. He has put points in Q and then W.
Okay.
So that is in fact how he has built up. Only 1 point in the shield, which means that when it comes to protecting Kobby, it's not all that valuable outside of the Mantrid movement speed. Oh, Nisbeth. Somebody's in trouble. Oh, Kikis was looking for Senkux. Okay. Used the ultimate but cleared the jungle is one of the important things. Now they can turn away and look to bait again because they know Team Dignitas don't have any wards on the Baron. So now Team Dignitas have to push. They have to try and get in on this. If they face check, that's very dangerous. No blue trinket available.
Too late to the draw, man. This is not good from Dig. You either immediately go or you immediately do not go, and that means Kobby is split up from the pack. He went the wrong way. We saw this from Woolite last time as well, last week. You do not split from the pack because Rengar will be there and Rengar will kill you. Looking for the disengage. This is where Dignitas should thrive, where they can try and get away from a fight, but everyone has to be in close quarters so that the Defiance come out. In the middle lane, can they anti-siege hard enough? Not with these Baron minions.
Not at this point. Not with the Baron minions plus the damage. One Caitlyn Q or some Azira auto attacks from the soldiers is going to just destroy anybody on Team Dignitas at that point. I mean, this Karma doesn't have a lot of health. They've got Morgana's support, so there's no tank from the support role either. And Obvious is being pushed so far behind this game. He is still only on Cinderhulk and a Sightstone. Does not have anything else completed for tankiness. And that is just the biggest problem that Team Dignitas have right now, is they cannot survive these fights.
Kick is once blurred. He jumps again. He jumps onto Senkux, but now he has to walk through the gravity field. Actually dissipates, comes in with the Dark Binding, but it lands onto Smitty as he jumps in, and that's the knock back in from Obvious. This is an extremely good fight, or rather an extremely good pickoff by Team Dignitas EU. There is the Summoner's Drift coming in from Perks, getting himself out of that nasty situation. And Wonderware will clear away this ward. So a nice 2 picks as Gamers 2 get a little over-aggressive. Yeah,
over-aggressive once again, and I guess that answers our question of, is it Kikis that's potentially responsible for the overzealous plays or not? That one Kikis was involved with, so there's no second guesses on that one. So the answer is no, that is us Gamers 2 as a whole, with a little bit of overconfident plays. I'm glad we can sort that one out.
Case closed.
Yeah. Ooh. Take him away, boys.
Take him to Runeterra jail. Obvious, be heading back here. Also with Senkux. There's a lot of carries off the board for a couple seconds. Kobby sat in the middle lane. Siege is being set up in the top lane by Gamers 2, and there's basically no reaction from Dig. Or there is a reaction from Dig, but it's 5 seconds too slow.
It's too slow at this point. Yeah, there's nothing Team Dignitas can do at this point. The Caitlyn just has too much range. The Azir is able to push down so quickly as well. How, in my mind, did Team Dignitas hold on to this? Somehow they have to stop G2 from standing in front of an inhibitor tower. It's going to come from warding and then a pick using the Grag Assault, which was the attempt at what happened there. But Hybrid didn't get blasted over the wall because that wall is too big to do it on. So now you have to wait. Now you have to wait for that cooldown to be back available. Just try and wave clear for now, and then try that play again. You have to hope that Gamers 2 get over-aggressive at just before this dragon. If the dragon comes up and Gamers 2 can bait Team Dignitas towards the dragon, that's the most dangerous situation to be in against this Gamers 2 squad.
This is the opposite of that with Dig 1, but the ultimate comes in. There's the depth charge. He's dead. He doesn't need to aim that one. Obvious over the wall will be getting away. Wonderwear also picked in from the top lane. So was Senkux actually before that was all happening. He just got caught out in the middle lane. 3 members taken away. Gamers 2 could go for an inhib. They could take a tower. They could just go for dragon. The Rift is their oyster.
Yeah, they got it. Oh!
Sniper.
Got him. Had a silencer on. Didn't even see it.
Yeah. Can you put a silencer on a rocket?
Silencing doesn't really stop you from seeing. Yeah, okay. Well,
Nice.
at this point, G2 will go for the inhibitor turret. You can see what what we know about any kind of firearms being from the UK. That doesn't happen. But pushing on to the tower as G2 have themselves the opening. There's the explosive cask used, and G2 will get this one. It's going to cost him some health on Jesse, though.
Jesse may die for this one, or maybe not. He will be getting away here. Had to burn the flash and the heal. Kickers may be the one paying for his sins, though. Wonderwear in from the sidelines. Not entirely sure if that will matter too much. He gets the Defiance down, trying to get in range. Doesn't fire the Q the right way. SmittyJ will just turn around. He knows he's probably dead, but can he get something for it? Not quite, but very close.
Very, very close at this point, but Team Dignitas can't capitalize off. There's no Baron, there's nothing else, and is this the European sniper that we're gonna see here?
I think it is. No, it's Kickers.
Okay, it's Kickers.
Can Lions be snipers?
Oh, this is how he gets Senkux. Can Lions be snipers?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Probably not.
Can Lions be anything other than Lions? Pulse? I think that's the question. I don't really think they choose a profession.
Maybe,
but,
maybe.
Okay, we're going to see it. We're going to see the ult from Cobby. I mean, it's anticlimactic because we know it hits.
That's true.
Oh, it was on a ward as well.
That's less impressive. It was actually better not knowing.
Yeah, it was so much better not knowing.
Yeah.
Man, I feel cheated now.
Yeah.
We gave away an
for nothing.
Yeah.
For what?
Turn
down for what? Hybrids and Perks will be taking away this dragon. That's the fourth of the game. Not even Khaleesi has that many. And the 5th dragon is on the horizon. And Dig need to do something in the next 6 minutes, otherwise they are done for.
I think the biggest problem is they've needed to do something for the last kind of 16.
31 minutes and 17 seconds.
I know, because I'm not going to go that far because Team Dignitas have been somewhat active when it comes to punishing Gamers 2, but Gamers 2 have always been on the front foot. They've always been the ones looking for picks, even if it's backfired on them. And that's something we haven't really seen too much from Team Dignitas, although it did creep in last week against Ex-Nihilo, where Ex-Nihilo looked for the turrets early. They got the turrets, pushed Team Dignitas fairly close to the limit. So if Team Dignitas can outlast Gamers 2, which isn't going to happen, by the way, by pushing out of lane without proper warding. I mean, he's got wards alongside him, but he's now gone up to the bush, and that's a dead Karma.
And that's a late game Ryze.
That's probably a dead Morgana if Ryze catches up, but he can't right now. So, well, it certainly is if he catches up, but it was more on, does he get the movement speed boost from his ult? The answer was no.
No. A late game Ryze is natural habitat. In comes the lion. Can he find his prey? Well, Nautilus is there. Tries to get the lockdown. Cobby has been stuck in place, charged up the ultimate, doesn't get it down. Nisbet in from the mid lane as well, lands a dog binding. It keeps Kickers there for a while. And he will be backing off now to moving on to this inhibitor. Obvious is manning up the front lines. Cobby and Wonderwear are down for the count. This should be the inhibitor falling. SmittyJ is pushing the bottom lane. Senkux and Nisbet are reacting to this. Overload comes out, does not connect. Takes away the minion line. Can Gamers 2 get any more from this? Dirge line comes across. They are looking to close in. Can they get onto Senkux? Senkux dies. This may be, if not a large amount of damage to the base, maybe even the game.
Yeah, at this point, Baron just respawned. That's going to be where Gamers 2 are going to look to go. That's a fairly easy one. But again, Team Dignitas have been baited out of their base time and time again this game. Will they fall into the same trap? Senkux is trying to de-ward already. Trying to get there before Gamers 2 can get themselves in front of the Baron. Our Team Dignitas actually going to just look to clear out the vision and rush this? I would hope not. I don't feel like they've got the damage to rush this quickly. It will be a very, very bold move if they start this Baron. If they start it, and okay, there's no vision for G2. They instantly have to pull back as soon as they see that ward. The problem is, this is too late. Super minions pushing into the top lane. G2 actually could just cut down mid lane and take that inhib turret. I don't think there's too much that Team Dignitas could have done about that.
No. They play it safe, though.
Right.
That would have been a play that would have yielded a lot of rewards, but also more risk involved.
Yes.
This one, pretty much nothing that Dig can do. Well, they're going to try. Perks does get separated from the pack, but he's just going to turn around. Obvious gets hooked in. Hybrid takes him out. The rest of the team. Kicker's chiming in for the kill. Senkirks, the damage out from Smitty J, annihilates him. And now the rest of the team is being chased down. The flash, the exhaust comes out onto Perks, keeping him at arm's reach. But here comes the teleport in from Smitty J. He is cutting off the escape route. You have nowhere to go. There is nowhere to run because Smitty J is there to find you. Cobby trying to get back to base here. He pops the heal at full health just for the movement speed to get back to his base. He gets there, but 2 autos from the Sand Soldiers chunked him down to half. There is no way he can defend this, and this is Gamers2 closing in for the kill.
They're closing in for the kill, and they're closing in on the first place spot in the round robin here. A real end of the season swing in momentum for them.
And that's the second Nexus turret falling. Gamers2 take down Team Dignitas, a flawless week, and they take the #1 spot in EUCS.
They do a real late in the season surge from Gamers2. They racked up enough wins across the weeks, only dropping 2 games, as did Team Dignitas, but they won the most important ones. The one against the top of the table. And honestly, Gamers2 are looking so much better now than I feel like they did in the first couple of weeks of this split. And honestly, as I said in the game, this may be the first Gamers2 that actually have looked like they can be the team to get that automatic promotion spot.
Yeah, they looked so good. Such a big difference. Well, we do want to talk to one of the players after that incredible win and incredible week. So we do have Perks on the line here. Hey, Perks, how's it going?
Hello. It's going great.
I can imagine. You just locked in the first spot in the Challenger Series going into playoffs. You know, you guys from the whole split have quietly got wins here and there. What are your feelings on how Gamers2 have performed in the summer split?
Excuse me, can you say again?
How do you feel Gamers2 have played across the whole summer split?
Oh, well, we haven't been that good in the beginning, but with some roster changes and way more practice, we have become pretty good. I think we can contest for the first place really easily.
Well, you just mentioned roster changes there, Perks, and Kickers has now come into your lineup. You look like an entirely different team coming into this week. What do you attribute that success to?
Excuse me, can you repeat the question?
Yeah, no problem. You look amazing right now. So what do you think were the factors that caused you to look so good in this recent week?
I think it's mostly my team doing really great, and I have a great jungler and support behind me who always help me out if I need something, and we just play really good as a team. There is like no me in the team, so.
For sure, for sure. How has Kickers actually changed the team this week?
Oh, well, he has a really lot of experience, and he's a really skilled player, so he's kind of guiding us to victory, let's say, and yeah.
Yeah, definitely guided to a victory there. Once again, congratulations on the win. You've locked that #1 spot. Thank you very much for the interview, and we'll talk to you later.
Thank you.
There we go. There's Gamers2 picking up those last 2 wins. Flawless week with Kickers coming in. And you can definitely see that still humble for Gamers2. You know, they know they had a bit of a rough first couple of weeks, but they've tightened that up.
There's no me in team, but there is if you rearrange some of those.
There is, but then you'd be spelling team wrong. That'd be Tommy.
Oh, that's true. Damn.
But nobody played Tommy Kench today.
No,
so.
He's more like Tom benched. Anyway, so Kickers in that game, as we were just talking about, was super great. Again, in the first game, did super well, pushed Obvious out of the jungle. Second game here, Rengar as well. You can see how well he did. 9, 4, and 14 overall in those 2 games. Just looked great. Brought a lot to that team.
He did. And a lot of it was a lot of the early game focus that Kickers actually piled on. With the Lee Sin, with the Rengar, set the rest of the team up to compete very well. But the one thing we can't really we can't really skim over, it is not all Kickers. It is strong solo laners, strong laning in general from Gamers2, and then you add on to that somebody who is making plays. We said last week, didn't feel like Hybrid and Maxlaw were playmakers. Now they've got one. Now they have Kickers, and they're looking very strong.
Yeah, the #1 spot. I really feel like Gamers2 just came out of nowhere. They just arrived and it's like, oh, we're #1 now. Here we go. But yeah, that's it. We're done with the round robin. So the teams are locked. So let's see where everyone ended up. In number 1, it is Gamers 2. Tied up with Team Dignitas EU, but that doesn't matter. They lost their head-to-head, so they're now in 2nd place. Followed by Denial, who will be playing Team Dignitas. Mouse come in 4th, who will play Gamers 2. And then we have Overclockers UK, who won today. So they are not last, and it will be X Nihilo 1 and 9.
And as you alluded to, though, the teams are locked into the spots, so let's make it very easy and take a look at the bracket to see exactly what is going to happen. So, Team Dignitas play against Denial. Gamers 2 face Mouse, and remember that won't be taking place next week because EUCS and the LCS is taking a break next week, but we will be back the week after, starting with our playoffs on Tuesday, the 4th of August.
Yeah, that's right. The semi-finals are going to be Team Dignitas EU versus Denial eSports. That'll be August 4th, and Gamers 2 and Mouse will be August 5th, immediately the day after. So mark your calendars. It will be kicking off the action at 1800 CET.
Yeah, that'll be the Tuesday.
The Tuesday
yes. Challenger. Make sure you head over to lolesports.com to actually catch the schedule for that and any action you may have missed over the entire split if you are hyped for those playoffs. Come prepared for playoffs, and there's a lot of other action to watch around the world as well. Always on the road to Worlds. Playoffs are heating up.
Yeah, it is going to be Worlds soon. But while we're finished for today, our global coverage doesn't stop here. Tune in again at 12 a.m. CEST or 3 p.m. Pacific time for Primetime League.
After that, Freakin' Irene, as always, will be bringing you their final week of the North American Challenger Series round robin. Let's see who takes the first spot over there. Is it going to be Renegades?
Maybe.
Is it going to be Cloud9 Tempest? There's a lot of questions.
And with that, the European Challenger Series Summer Split round robin is complete. So from myself, Stress, and the Challenger broadcast team, thank you for following the action so far in summer, and we'll be back in under 2 weeks for playoffs. See you then.
Not going for full tank, but we're going to see how it does.
Against Godbro here. He's getting range first to allow those auto attacks to land. Olivic's going to help him out with that with the double man play, but gets Fitz called back into Celeber. Not sure if he entirely wanted that scenario, but the flash forwards from Celeber, who would get the first kill with the Ren. Teleport now coming in by Musu. Maybe a little bit too late, or maybe not. He's just going to cancel it. Screw you, Invader.
But Wicked was getting chunked out on the bottom side himself.
There's the ultimate coming in from Victor, landing onto Wicked's going to chase him down, but he gets him with the Death Ray instead. The spear comes across, will be sidestepped by Wendelboat. Cosq also coming into the action. The flash into the body slam by Kyrie will be getting the stun out onto Mountain. He's going to be stationary for days.
Remember this, previous to this week, Senkux, what are you doing?
Well, he's going to try and blow up Perks, and he actually has a lot of damage. Gets the stun down with the gravity field, but that's a Rise coming in from the top side. Senkux, he'll get the slight shield from the power transfer, but Wonderworld's in the fight as well. He gets him with the inner flame. Perks from the mid lane, though, maybe caught out by Obvious. He'll blast him away with the soldiers there, but Obvious has also been locked down. Senkux now coming in from the middle lane, looking for the power transfer, lands onto Perks. Not quite enough. Spinny J trying to get away, but not before he's caught in the gravity field.